Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Fight Night. I guess that's what we're gonna go with. I actually don't know what to call this stream. I have no idea. I don't know. It's a stream. Welcome back. Hi everybody. It's a stream. We might fight, might not, might agree. Who knows? I don't know. It's fun. But we started this over on Twitter the other day, and X, whatever. And I think both of us realized that is just not the medium to have any sort of discussion on. Yeah. No, and then I will say this. Bats called me out in DMs, and he was like, "Hey, bro, like you said some shit. You said I lied," and I was like, "All right."
My word means something, Royce.
My exact words were, "You're making shit up," which yes, that is that, and that was wrong of me to do. And I want to open this up with that because that was bullshit of me to do. But at the same time, I hate discussing shit on Twitter because stuff like that. The way that all of that works is designed to frustrate you, and the frustration got the better of me. So yeah, I apologize for that. That was not cool.
It's all not
cool. So, but yeah. So anyway, yeah. So basically, what we're going to talk about, we started this off with, if you guys have been following me over there on X, Twitter, whatever you guys want to call it, I've kind of been talking about the upcoming Dragon Age: The Veilguard and being like, okay, with a lot of the stuff going on with Dragon Age: The Veilguard, it's going to be directly compared to like Baldur's Gate 3. And a lot of the stuff that they're putting in, Dragon Age: The Veilguard, I believe was in Baldur's Gate 3 and has kept me from playing that game, right? Because I think that there's messaging there and so on. And so one of the things, and like, and Bats and I have gone back and forth on this a couple of times. I think one of the important things to do probably before we get into this is we both have to like agree on like, I mean, I call it cultural Marxism. Most people call it woke. Like, I think we have to agree on that. Because if we have just a different thing in our heads as to what we're arguing, we're just going to dance around each other's points.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So, and I like, that's one of those things that I just, two retards fighting. Yes, it is.
Yeah, I don't think our definitions are really different. Like, might be like 10% out of 100% different. But like, it's just, I think our conversations were getting lost through text. So, plus, like you never played, what's it called? Baldur's Gate 3. What are we talking about?
Yeah. What's the thing that we're talking about? No, but well, and here's the reason, right? It's because, and I have friends of mine who are like they really want me to play this game. Like, they have almost 1,000 hours in the game. Yeah. Like my buddy. And then
that's why the video you sent me, no replayability. That dude's is insane.
No, and with again, that was one video, but that wasn't the only video. I like the one part of that video where he points out what can be seen as the woke stuff, right?
Yeah, it just was like, really bad though. And I think it's important to bring up that video in discussion too, because in Discord when we were first talking, and I was, this is a while ago, you mentioned that video as covering the subject in depth and was the best video you've seen on it. Is it fair, right?
I like it. I don't remember saying it's the best video, but I also say a lot of things. If I said that, then yeah, I'll stand by it.
I don't remember your words.
I don't know. But no, it's a video that I go back to because, again, it has the one when people are like, oh, what was woke about the game? It's like, okay, he has a 5-minute segment here where he covers the stuff, right? Yeah. And he breaks the stuff down. And I've also gone through forums. I've also checked out a couple other smaller channels of which I can't actually fucking remember the names of. Obviously, Razor Fist did a review of it as well. Yeah. And Razor Fist did a decent job in my I don't know. But like I said, I've gone through forums and stuff like that to read up on this because I got friends of mine that are like, they've been begging me to play this game with them for like a year. And I'm holding out on it. And that's part of the reason. And part of the reason that I've held out on it is because there are things that I'm seeing, especially with like the research that I've done, that I'm just like, I just can't
bring yourself to it. Yeah, no, and I get that, and I don't have problems with people doing that. It's just that it was I want to respond to your comments when you frame Baldur's Gate as a whole as being woke trash. That's where I'm like,
I don't think I've ever said it's woke trash. I've never. Those words have.
I'm going to be paraphrasing a lot,
Yeah.
So don't take me saying your words.
No. I just want to make sure that it's on the record. I have never said it was woke trash. And in fact, I've never even said that the game itself was bad.
So this
said that there are elements in it that people have complained about that we're supposedly fighting against in the gaming industry. But because Baldur's Gate 3 had, decent gameplay and the decent writing, they just overlook all of the other stuff that they say, like, Concord failed for, or like or Veilguard is going to fail for, right? People are going to specifically point to, the woke stuff is what failed these games. That's why they failed, so on and so forth. And I'm like, okay, but look at like a game like Baldur's Gate 3 or even God of War Ragnarok, right? Now,
absolutely, and that's, I think, where we need to have the discussion after. But, let me just mention, because I did pull it up. You said, how can people defend Baldur's Gate 3 if all of its Marxist messaging, but slam Dragon Age Veilguard? So that's what I mean, is like you said, with all of its Marxist messaging. Yes. And then I'm like, what do you mean? You don't even know? You never played the game.
I think a lot of people, when they hear the messaging part of it, they're thinking that I'm talking about the story. And what I'm actually talking about is the implementation of things in the game that are done on the developer's side of it in the design of the game itself, right? It's not, there's a difference between overt messaging and subtle messaging. Absolutely. And Baldur's Gate 3, I absolutely believe, is a case of subtle messaging.
I think another important thing to distinct, have you ever played Dungeons and Dragons, the tabletop?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know like the lore much?
I know some of it. I actually went on a deep dive with the lore back in the day. It's been 5 years.
It's an important aspect. Now, I'm extremely critical of the lore. Like, generally speaking, I think D&D lore sucks, but that's separate from the development of the game.
Well, it didn't used to, from what I'm to understand.
Well, like how many years do you have to go back?
Most people that I know.
It's gotten way worse.
Who were super heavy into D&D. They all pretty much told me to kind of shy away from 5th edition, which is actually the edition that I ended up playing. But I've done more research into like 3.5 and stuff like that, because a lot of the guys that I've talked to, they've been playing it since like 2nd and so on. And a lot of the guys that I talked to, like 3.5. I haven't played Dungeons and Dragons much, but I've played it and I understand the character creation behind it and all that.
Yeah. It's just, to me, it's always, like, even before 5, it's just been generic fantasy, which is,
it was designed to be a Lord of the Rings knockoff tabletop.
Everything's influenced from Lord of the Rings. You can't.
Well, no. But like they even said that, like Gary Gygax, when he created the game, was like, yeah, basically that's what it was. To the point where the Tolkien estate actually told, what was it? It was, they couldn't call them hobbits anymore. They had to call them halflings. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And orc was a generic enough one that they were actually able to get away with it because, but hobbit specifically was the original name
every
of the
fantasy creator ever, like, ripping off Tolkien.
Well, yeah, because he's
intentionally so.
Yeah, he is the father of modern fairy stories, though. Like, that's why the guy was so damn popular. Fantasy. Yeah, is because, I mean, people, the word changed, but back in the day, it was coined as fairy story, right? Because, it was the Duchess of Denmark. I believe it was the Duchess of Denmark that actually said, that she grew up loving fairy stories, and she absolutely loved, because that's what they call it, fairy tales, fairy stories. It was very rare at the time. So, but anyway, going back into like the Baldur's Gate 3 stuff. Because that's why we're here. But again, and there's a lot of history behind all this, and it's going to be. I think it's going to be hard to keep this one contained.
Yes. Well, let's go over definitions. Okay. Get that out of the way.
Which one do you want to go? I'll let you pick first.
Woke.
Okay.
You want to define it?
Yeah, I can. Okay, so the way that I've seen it implemented in society, and the way that, it obviously, when people talk about it and how it works, is it's a cultural Marxist thing. Marx said that to cliff note it, because you have to have, because in order to understand woke, you actually have to have a pretty deep political knowledge, which is also why I say that the term itself is just bad, because I hate the word. It's just a bad word. It's been overused, and people just assume that everybody knows what. No, it's to cliff note it. Marx said that he was poor because rich people hated poor people, and it was up to the poor people to make the rich people see their value in society and give them money for no reason or burn society to the ground. Cultural Marxism, I'm cliff noting. You guys could go read Marx's book if you would like. But I'm cliff noting here.
At Welshman.
What?
I'm laughing at Welshman.
But Royce is disappointed that you can't romance ago. Oh Jesus, no. That's just weird. Cultural Marxism is saying that rich people hate me and have kept me down for pick a characteristic, gender, race, and that's why they stack on. Oh well, if I have multiple of these things, they obviously hate me more. I'm a disabled. I'm a disabled, bi, non-binary, black, lesbian, whatever. Like, again, they start stacking this stuff on, and then they say society owes them, for it, sort of reparations. Or if they don't, we can just, burn it to the ground, which is where the Summer of Love came from. But, so that's really what it is. It is trying to move society in a direction, right, for the purpose of changing it. Okay, that's really what Marxism was.
I was going to say something flying in there.
Yeah.
No, I would tack on, right. I'm agree with that. Just tack on, right. Feminists is involved with that, or new wave feminism.
Well, yeah.
Gender ideology is tacked on to that, right. So.
Well, that's why I say cultural Marxism. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm just adding. So it's just because it's something as simple as a form or use of a girl boss in storytelling can be rooted in cultural Marxism.
Can be, but not necessarily. Agreed. And that's a big difference here. It's why I tell people all the time, stop using the word woke. Because the sad fact of the matter is 90% of the people that I see online using the word woke have no idea its implications, what it means, why it means it. And they're anybody who is trying to point out that they're injecting Marxism into our entertainment media does everybody a disservice by just saying anything gay or black is woke.
I think that video
stupid
you sent me on Discord was probably the greatest example of that happening, of just misusing it. Even though he said the right words of defining it, it's just that, what he was saying, and right off the bat, because again, we can go through everything he said, but one of the examples, there's a drag queen in there. Do I even have to explain that there's a drag queen in there and why that's bad? It's nothing to do with the main story. It's one character, and this character also leads the circus. So, a bearded lady, and also the character is a necromancer, evil. So the necromancers are evil in the game. So I'm just
So here's the big issue that I have, and because I've had this discussion with my buddies for a long time. We have to discuss it as a whole with all of its problems, because it's pattern recognition is what it is, right? It's not that I have,
is it past a threshold?
It's not that I have an issue with any one or two things, right? For instance, and I know you've brought up Ghost of Tsushima when we were having it out on Twitter, and it's well, they had woke elements. No, they didn't.
That's probably a bad one. I didn't play it much, so I'm going based off of what Razorfist said.
I've got over 200 hours in Ghost of Tsushima. I love that fucking game, and even in the multiplayer too, which multiplayer need a little bit more work, but overall,
I think I was mostly saying how some people can see something and say it's woke is exactly what that guy was doing with that. I don't see in any way, shape, or form that if we're gonna stack points of on the woke meter of the game, I don't see how this drag queen character in any way, shape, or form adds any points, especially since the character's evil. It is well known that this is a bad character, and it's in the circus.
So again, it's stacking on it's stacking on the points from the beginning to the end. And once you start to see certain things, especially you start out the game, you're going into it, you start seeing a couple things and then a few more things, and it's one of those things. It's oh shit, okay.
But that would take away a point.
What else are you going to stack onto this, right? And now you've already engaged a certain player base to start looking for things.
But let's focus on that example. How would that add a point? Let's say it's one of the first things you see. How would that add a point? And then how is that not taking away a point for being anti-woke?
So
representing
the modern day. So the modern day political world, especially with pushing drag queens so heavily in modern media the way that they have. Okay, the thing is, if you're gonna have characters like that in games, and you're starting to see these other modern day politics that they put in, that's going to add a point because it makes it look like you're adding modern day politics yet again with a drag queen in your game, especially during the developmental cycle that this game was going through with all of the
disagree with
media.
this point, especially because it would be woke if they were trying to push the ideology into you or the player in any sense of the way. And in this exact example, this pushes you away.
You're talking about again, like I said, it's the overt versus the subversive. Right?
But it's not subversive. Like, what's subversive about this? That drag queens are evil and they belong in the circus?
No, the fact that they're adding that in a game that already has a lot of this other stuff, that already has a lot of the other modern day political stuff in it. So
okay. Right. So, well, I disagree, but we should probably move on to another.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, but like I said, and everybody wants to bottleneck it down into one specific thing, right? We want to bottleneck it down to one specific thing. And the idea behind why I have issues with the game is because it does have those other things in there, right? And everybody, I mean, I think one of the first places to start, because everybody goes, oh, the character creator, because that's the first thing that you really see in the game.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that has really bothered me in modern day games is the removal of male and female body types, and now it's body type 1, body type 2. Yeah. That on its face is ridiculous. You know?
Absolutely, I agree.
And it's
one
just
thing
like,
I'll say with that though is we just saw with the Japanese developers that apparently it's required coming overseas.
Yeah.
So is that their fault? Honestly, probably, or is it? Well, you know, because it's. I mean,
they are a Western develop. They are. I mean, Larian is technically a Western developer.
They're Dutch, aren't they?
Yeah, that's still the Western world. The Dutch
I'm talking about coming into the States, though. I don't know.
Oh no, I don't think that it's even necessarily coming into states. You can look at the laws and things like that they're passing over in the EU and see some of the regulations and things like that they have. There are laws and stuff like. Not only that, but also look at the company who they were developing this for, was Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
There is that too. Now, obviously, we know that Hasbro, Larian separated themselves from this. So the idea is it may not necessarily be Larian's fault here, but the stuff is still in the game.
I think it's an important distinction, though.
No, and like
especially
I said,
if it's like in every game.
But. And we're gonna and it is. We ended up we actually ended up getting, I didn't even know, my wife just bought it, the Hogwarts game, and I was like, they've got this. I was like, babe, make sure that you play through this shit first, because the kids wanted to play the Hogwarts game, and so my wife was like, well, fuck, I bought it. Because she doesn't pay attention to a lot of this stuff the way that I do. And so we're going in, so she goes in, and she's like, yeah, some of the stuff is there. She's like, it's not so absolutely overt that the kids would catch on any of it. And actually, funny enough, I don't think any of the kids had a good time with it after like 10 minutes, so they just bounced. Which, if you're making a game that's a Harry Potter game and children are bored with it, that's not good. But anyway, but that was one of the things too. They did the body type 1 or 2 thing. They included the one trans bartender, which they said they included to bend the knee to, what everybody calls the mob out there, right?
I feel like that was like from the get-go, though. That character's pretty integral.
I was gonna say it. I was gonna say that had to be that had to be from the get-go. But and then on top of that, I pointed out to my buddy, I was like, it's really wild how diverse Hogwarts was in England in the 1880s.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Yeah.
My buddy was like, holy shit, I never realized that. I was like, once I saw that, I was like, man, this is interesting. It's one of those things.
And I agree. If that was like a one-off thing in the story, it's like, okay, the game's not woke, but there is an accumulative factor of many things in the game.
And that's what I look at too, is this is like, okay, if it's like, well, and this is my problem with a lot of people, because it's trying to normalize an ideology in society and push that envelope. Like I said, and Larian may or may not. Larian may have had to do whatever Wizards of the Coast, told them to do, which I would imagine that that's absolutely.
Yeah, definitely the character creator is the strongest case, right? Like, I don't debate that there. I will say it's just like, I think the better distinction, because I honestly, until like I saw the video, I had no idea. And my wife has played it way more. Had no idea the non-binary option was there. Just because you click over to male, or you just keep it on female.
Some people will.
Yeah.
And the idea of it is it's just it's on its face that's ridiculous because we all know that's not how the world works. You know, when I was talking with my buddy about this too, and he's like, we talked about I gotta be careful how I say this, male appendages on female bodies or female lack of appendages on male bodies. My buddy goes, but wait a minute, don't trans people, like they just want to be the other thing, right?
Yeah.
He's like, they don't want to be this amalgamation of in the middle. So why can't you just have male and female? I'm like, because
I agree. How long have games been doing that though? Because I know this isn't the first game. I think it's
no. It's
Cyberpunk.
not the first game.
Yeah. And to me, and I know it's not the intentions of the creators because they are big lefties, progressive people. D&D's full of it.
Oh yeah.
But like to me, it's like I think most of the people going to put a character with tits and a dick are doing it because it's funny.
No. And I would say most people probably yes. And actually, if you go back and you look at it, and I forget where the stat was. Funny enough, most people who created a character in Baldur's Gate 3 was a white, straight male character.
Male? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Because people create themselves in the character creator. Yeah.
Yeah, it's white, straight, and male. And like, who's most of the people that are going to play a game in this country? Because there just happens to be a majority of them. They're white, straight, and male. And and you can see the breakdown. So the idea is that, okay, they're putting a minute thing in there for a group of people that is such a small percentage. And my issue with it is trying to normalize the stuff in society because
look, I agree. I think it's good to bring up the Veilguard instance and how that is different, right? Because the surgical scars thing, I think, is like way worse, right?
I don't.
Like,
I think it's the same thing.
I don't because it's just like in a fantasy world.
The reason that
having that kind of surgery.
The reason that I do is because.
And it's part of the promotional.
Well, I know. Well,
that's the big thing too.
Bear fucking was also part of the promotion of Baldur's Gate 3.
It wasn't.
That was on. Dude, I saw the fucking thing they put
on
Twitter.
You saw off of some third party's review.
No, I didn't see it from a third party review.
They did afterwards, like, own it because it blew up, but it was not a part of their promotional stuff. They owned it. But like, also the bear thing was a joke. It was a fucking joke.
I know why. But again, going back to the surgical scars versus appendages on different bodies, that only gets there through a surgery. The appendage itself is actually a surgery scar if we really want to go
magic
there.
And fantasy. So and that's where people are like, why would you not like have some sort of magic? Like, I don't know, like that type of surgery is so modern. And to me, it's just like, I don't know, that the promotion of surgical scars is so much worse to me in my mind than like trans adults, right?
No, and I look at it this way as the promotion of eliminate, because again, trans adults want to just go from one to the other. They want to be the other thing. I mean, the DSM-4, it used to say that it was actually a personality disorder. It was actually why can't I think of the name? They changed it in the DSM-5, which is a psychological thing, which no longer classifies the body dysphoria. They no longer classify it as a dysphoria anymore because of political reasonings. But again, just the idea in and of itself that you can't just why again, a person who's a male who feels that way wants to go over 100%. So there's no reason to have anything in the middle there because it's male or female. The only people that do it, that want to have something in the middle, are those who are actively working at changing the definitions of what a person is, what gender is, and what all the stuff is. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people, not in the gaming industry, but I'm seeing a lot more people out there kind of just raise an eyebrow to the bullshit on that one. But that's where the problem is. The problem the problem starts way before you even get to the option of a scar or an appendage.
We're really like for this one. It's just we're arguing which is it. Is it worse or is it the same, right? And it's just like for me, it's with the scars thing. There's no way around any thought process of that being anything other than modern surgery. And
we'll see. And that's
nobody's
what I thought
doing
about,
that because it's funny.
Well, yeah, but that's what I thought about with. But that's exactly what I thought about with Baldur's Gate 3 and actually with fuck even Cyberpunk. Yeah. You know. I don't hand wave away stuff like that with like magic and things like that. Like Plus, I don't.
The other thing too is it's them. Like the worst thing was, and I'll get into this later because they're not adding anything by allowing you to put the other appendages in on different body types, right? Or male body. They're adding something with the scars, so that makes it worse. But the really bad thing, is the promotion of the scars pre-game. That's where it's bad. The really bad. The promotion. There was no promotion of being able to swap genitals.
Well, all it was. So here's the thing: is all that came out. That wasn't even something that was touched on. It was literally that people saw it in the IGN review. IGN didn't even talk about it. Or no, I think they actually said really quickly, "Oh, and you can do this scar thing for our LGBTQ whatever."
That wasn't like an official Veilguard.
That was not an official Veilguard thing. That was an IGN early access like review of the game that they got to play.
Developers.
No, the developers came out swinging. Don't get me wrong. And I think again, to Larian's credit, they never came out swinging on a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Which again, the right move to make, right? And I've even looked up, like Larian's policies and things like that. They don't actually have DEI or ESG policies. In fact, they've moved a lot of their development into Malaysian studios, which which means that their studios are probably not going to be actively doing it. And I would imagine that there was a lot there with the development of Baldur's Gate 3 that they were just like, okay, go. Because again, I'm looking at this as the game itself and the messaging put behind it. I'm not even saying that it was Larian's decision to do a lot of this stuff. In fact, I would argue that it not
probably was.
Be.
And I made the point, like, dude, they got a lot of lefty progressive people in the D&D thing, and they were going based off of people's recommendations. And I totally believe that some lefty person was playing this game in the alpha. Like, there was a lot of people playing the alpha. That was another big part of this thing, that you got a lot of the game in the alpha. And people got a taste of it. Taste of it.
I know that.
Somebody said, hey, can you guys put this option in? And they probably like, yeah.
Well, and I was
because they're cool with that. So I don't think it was like them putting propaganda in there. That's the important distinction for me.
I don't know that I necessarily agree with that, because I went and I looked up Steam forums and Reddit forums and the conversation on that. And then there was another website that I went to. I didn't trust that one, but there were people out there who were like, wait a minute, why the fuck did they change the character creator? They're like, I've had a character in this game for a year that I can no longer get back because
they did that. They did that so many times during the alpha. And they told you that you're going to lose your entire character's progression multiple times. It happened to me like 3 times.
Yeah. So with that being said, I've not seen it for the rest of the alpha, but I saw it.
They changed it constantly, and it was part of like the warning you'd have was that it was going to change. Is Razorfist correct with saying that it was a bait and switch? Maybe I don't agree with that. Is it possible?
Well, it's like
maybe.
if it was popular,
but it was
if
also
it was popular with the
before,
character creator that they had, like it was like day of release that they made that
there was
change.
but there was massive changes on the day of release, like from the alpha, like massive changes, and they told you that was going to happen. Now, like Baldur's Gate 3 came out a couple months before Starfield did, right? And Starfield was like the big one where people are like, yo, they're going to make us choose the he, him, she, her pronouns, really? Like, they make you do that. Which Baldur's Gate 3 kind of didn't do. Like, if you put male, it defaults you to the male body, male appendages.
And here's where I look at it. I don't care if you make it my choice or not. It was their choice to put it in the game to start with. And that's where the non-start for me is. Like, I
think that's fine, though. If that's a non-start for you, like,
Well, yeah.
It's
But
going to
that's why
happen
I
with
say,
people, right?
yeah, and that's why I say, because I just look at this, and that's why I say it's not versus, again, Starfield, overt, right? You have to do this, right? You have to make this decision. Again, going into games that are more subversive, they're just like, well, it's in there. You can choose it. And again, probably why I think, I mean, again, Larian, I have looked. Which I actually think it's funny because even Razorfist mentioned Larian's home country. I always, it's not Denmark, it's
Belgium?
Is it Belgium? Yeah. But he mentioned, a lot of their politics with how companies have to operate, and Larian moved their studios over to Malaysia.
Yeah.
Which I just kind of look at that.
Razorfist ain't right all the time. Like
I'm not
saying Wukong is not an iconic character, which is the craziest thing ever.
That was a retarded take.
Fucking insane. I was like,
that
what?
was stupid.
I was listening to that live. I was like,
dude, on side scrollers. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Did you notice that in
Goku?
Yeah. In a recent video, he got so much pushback on that. He actually softened how he said it in a video. I'm like, yeah, because you got fucking obliterated in the comments on that. Well, everybody was like, wait, what? Like,
yeah, that was an insane take.
Yeah, what did he say? He was like, it's an obscure character that nobody fucking knows about. And I literally
knows about from
China. And I search Journey to the West story,
dude,
and there's 15 fucking videos north of 1 million fucking
dude,
views.
Wukong's probably in more games, like if not overtly in the game as a skin type, more than any other character in creation.
But dude, it's wild. I can't speak to that, but I can speak to what it's one of those, like, it's kind of how you check your bullshit meter, right? It's like, okay, have I experienced what this person is saying to me? And you can kind of go, huh, maybe, okay, let me step out, let me see. And like I said, I just was like, well, I thought Journey to the West was really popular. Maybe I'm wrong because I've watched a lot of videos on it. So I just searched it on YouTube. Yeah. Immediately the top results. And they're all over 1 million views, and they're like 5 or 6 years old. I'm like, yeah, okay, so Razorfist is just out of touch here. Yeah. He's really, really good on political rants, but when he starts getting into some of this other stuff, it's just like, yeah, that was wild. That was absolutely.
But so, wild. I mean, just overall with the character creator, it's just like, yeah, there's definitely woke shit in there. Just putting the non-binary stuff in there, yes. My thing is like, all right, let's get past the character creator and how much woke is there, right?
So one of the things that really, and again, it goes into the pattern recognition thing, and I had to look this up because I was like, that seems, but I did look it up, and it's something that Synthetic Man pointed out. And like I said, I know you got an issue with a lot of his video, but it was this one here I found really. I mean, I looked it up and verified what he was saying, and again, you see the pattern there, which was really funny. And this is one that I think a lot of people, this is one that you're probably going to lose your shit at me for. But when you look at all of the companion characters, I've had this conversation with my buddy before too. You look at all the companion
all right. Characters. I know the point you're going to bring up.
Yeah. So if you look at all the companion characters, all right. So, and I'm like playing Dragon Age Origins right now. I'm playing the first one, right?
Yeah.
So my upfront tank and DPS characters, traditionally male, the upfront fighters, the warrior classes, right? Obviously, your rogues and stuff have always been kind of back and forth between male or female characters, even in Dragon Age Origins. Then your healer classes, like even in, and I actually experienced this in Knights of the Old Republic back in the day, and Knights of the Old Republic 2 when I was playing that as well. But in Baldur's Gate 3, there's a pattern that, and unless with the exception of I think one character that is a temporary.
Okay. You got plenty of upfront characters. Never mind the fact that it's D&D. So it's look, the blade when he's introduced, the Blade of the Frontier is the description. He goes and up front to a goblin and stabs him. That's literally how he's introduced. He is a warlock character. Yes, it's a typical spellcaster. But the first thing I did with him was I made him into a tank.
But okay. So but again, you're deviating to player choice here. That's where the problem is. It's like, well, I didn't choose it. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, I've read fucking Karl Marx, and just because I didn't choose to be a fucking Marxist doesn't mean that that the book wasn't about fucking communism, you know?
Yeah, but the game's not encouraging you to play it in any certain way.
But Okay.
And again, the Blade of Frontier and exactly how he is shown off to play he's training kids with the sword.
Yeah.
Like, and then you got the other character, the Druid character, which is introduced in bear form. So it's an upfront tank character.
Oh, okay. Well, no, that's a mage.
And Shadowheart is a healer, like a cleric,
well, yeah,
like a typical healing class.
But your warrior and barbarians, both of them are female characters. And again, on their base classes themselves, why make that switch? Why make that pattern? That's just weird. You can't say that. Now, if you had a barbarian that was a chick and a warrior that was a dude, I'd be like, all right, now, fuck it. That's a really loose, and it was a little bit more mixed and matched.
Being a bit like in bear form introduced, like that's his thing. Like bears are an upfront tank class. Like take World of Warcraft, that's a tank class.
The
Druid is Blade of Frontier. And then again, we have Astarion, a rogue, upfront like fighting class.
But like I said, rogues have always been back and forth. Even in fucking Dragon Age, there's two rogues in that one.
It seems pretty even to me.
So why don't you have a male warrior class?
Is it really going to be a subversion because you don't have a male warrior class?
It's a subversion of the traditional gender roles.
You can change any of the classes.
I didn't say what you can do. I said what Larian did. Stop talking about what you do. We need to talk about what Larian did.
I don't see how that's
you didn't write the Communist Manifesto. Karl Marx did. So we need to talk about
I remember the part where he's like, any game with a female warrior class in there automatically woke.
No, that's retarded. That's absolutely stupid. You would say that about fucking Laura Croft.
But that's the interpretation you take from what you just said.
No. I said there is a pattern of recognition here. And it just seems really odd that, again, we're getting past the character creator. We're getting past some of these other elements that we know.
These are how the characters are introduced and how their playstyle is shown off.
No. I said we've already talked about the character creator and the elements that are there. So now we're already seeing a pattern. It's like, okay, they're definitely putting things in. Well, now it's kind of weird that, like, traditionally, like, you would have, warriors, and barbarians in older games that were traditionally men. Occasionally you'd get a woman that was here or there, but most traditionally it was men. It's a weird pattern. Why did Larian follow that pattern with the companions? Why did Larian do it? That's what I'm asking. Not what you did, not how you can change it. Why did Larian make that decision?
Again,
that's the big question.
Introduced his story, the Blade of Frontier. He is literally a fighting, like his class is warlock, but he as a person, his backstory, his lore is him as an upfront.
Then why not just make him a warrior then? Why call him a warlock? Why not make him a warrior?
So because then he gets to cast cool fucking demon spells, and it has to do with it has to do with the storyline that he's on and what he had to choose to his backstory. It goes on with his backstory, what he had to do in order to save his city.
Larian made the intentional decision that your base classes for your companions, that they absolutely avoided the traditional gender roles. They did. And that is a pattern that they set up in the companions. And that, again, it's not what you can do with them, right? It's because they could have just as easily said, hey, he's on this journey. He's going to start as a warrior. You as the player can make him the fucking warlock later so he can cast cool spells and shit, right? Because it's all, the game's very
No. He's a warlock off the bat. The warrior, warlock, again, there's archers that are warriors.
Yeah.
Like the play style is completely up to you as the player.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is why establish the pattern like that? That it's clear that there's not. They absolutely avoided traditional gender roles in one. I mean, maybe the exception of Shadowheart being a healer, but you don't. Again, because again.
Besides that,
I
guess typically speaking, barbarians and warrior class. I don't know. It's just it's D&D. It's character creation.
But what I'm saying is that
what message is that trying to push?
Well, the idea of getting rid of the gender norms, right? The idea that, you know, oh, just as much as men do, they, you know, women go up and they're on the front lines, this, that, and the other thing, right? And that's, again, why make that pattern there? It's a weird pattern because
it's built into the D&D world. Well, and again, I like I discussed with you before. I remember it was before the show. The D&D world is boring, but that's how the world is set up.
Okay, like specifically, like
so, like
again,
okay.
But again, I would imagine that the D&D world, being that, and I'm gonna spitball something here. I would imagine that if you open up any of the player handbooks, and it has its established characters that are, you know, and like NPC type characters that are in D&D. I would imagine that there is a plethora of both male and female characters across that kind of do the mix, mash, and wash through all different kinds of character classes, right? I would imagine that that's a thing, right? Unless there's like racial traits and stuff, which I think they're starting to get rid of racial traits. But I would imagine if you open up as well, let's say before 5th edition. So if you go before 5th edition, so from 1st, which no longer exists anymore, up to 4th, you know, you're going to open up a player handbook and you're going to see male and female warriors. You're going to see male and female barbarians. You're going to see male, not just as characters that you can create, but as probably like NPCs in the game, right? Or, you know, warlocks, same thing. They didn't make that choice here, which is, and again, it's just a weird pattern, right? And it's one of those things that it definitely
I don't see how that's pushing any, but like how that in any way pushes the propaganda. It doesn't prevent you from playing a warrior yourself. And it doesn't prevent you at all from making, not changing the class at all. She's a warrior. That means she can be an archer because a lot of the warrior classes are archers as well.
But again, you're talking about what you can do. Okay.
Yeah, but the whole entire game is what you can do.
Okay.
You can do any, like literally the first thing I did, especially with the way that he was shown, he first showed up with the blade, attacking with the blade. I made Will, the warlock character, into a tank, and so that's how the game, like it's advertised.
Yeah, but
and again, a bear druid is a tank archetype, and that's how you're introduced to him as a bear.
So why again? But again, why is it that traditionally we've seen these other things and that just so happens to not be represented in the game?
How come we don't see the female bear tank represented? Like we could do that all fucking day.
Exactly my fucking point. If they
what do you mean that's your point?
All things being equal, you would have had male and female characters.
No, they only have so many companions.
No,
they have to like create lore and lines, and like they only have
a male warrior. The druid could have been a female dude that you're talking about, who's the Blade of the West or whatever. Could have still been male. They could have mixed and matched it, but for some reason,
it seems like let's split them down half. Let's make half of them male and half of them female. Like okay,
yeah,
we're gonna do Karlak is gonna be a barbarian. She's a girl. Okay, that's one spot.
Yeah, and then
let's do the druid as a. Let's do the druid as a man. Okay. Should we make him like the fairy, like tree growing spellcasting druid? No, let's make him a bear because he's a man. And let's make him also really muscly and strong.
So, again, why? But again, going back to the point, why did Larian make the decision to deviate from what we've seen in classic video games and even classic stories, where more spellcasters in parties tended to be more female-centric, except, again, the rogues are the ones, they've always been kind of one or the other. And then the upfront tanky characters, the brawlers, were more the male characters. Again, I'm not saying that they absolutely have to follow that. I'm just saying that it's weird that even accidentally they didn't hit that.
I mean, again, maybe it wasn't accidentally, but is that them trying to push a message?
But yeah, I mean, we've already talked about them trying to destroy gender norms in the character creator. So why the fuck wouldn't they do it with the companions that you get?
Because it's not there. Like I just said, you had a gender norm represented as one of the first companions you meet.
Though in the warlock character, that could have probably just been a warrior based off how he comes out, and you could class him up into a warlock later. but they didn't do that.
No, he is a warlock right off the bat.
Yes,
but
he's a warlock right off the bat.
Change him into a warrior if you want.
Yeah, that's your choice though. That's not what Larian's choice was.
Yeah.
Again, yeah, I'm aware that the game has a lot of player choice, and this is where a lot of people go back to the argument is, well, but I don't have to. It's like I'm not asking what you have to do. I'm asking why did the studio make the decisions that they made, right?
But why did they show Will, the warlock character, into gender stereotypical combat? And why did they do the same thing with the druid?
I don't know.
So it's not like they're ignoring it. It's not like they're taking that away from them.
So when you get introduced to the female characters, are they doing the gender typical thing, caring for people, helping them out?
The one is the one female, the warrior. She's a prisoner. The other one's like outside a door. Yeah.
The other one's outside a door.
Yeah, it's just outside a door. And like in the beginning, well, actually no. When you first meet her, she's captive. So.
Oh, that's
strange.
But yeah, like I said,
I mean, it's not strange. It's just I don't think there was any like attempt to be propaganding anyone with the companions.
I mean,
I think it's evident in the way that they showed off all the characters.
When you, again, like I said, when you start stacking up the points, like that's a point.
What points? Like, is it made a barbarian female?
Why the fuck did they just so accidentally avoid the gender norms? There's no, again, going back, barbarians, warriors, shit like that.
No, I think because they're like, let's get a
druids,
muscle woman, because they like to do that, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna make her barbarian. They made her hot as shit. A lot of guys really love the fucking barbarian woman. To quote a stream I was on last night, she can sit on my face.
I don't.
All the character models are really
shit.
hot,
I don't.
like, you know, to get off this point, because we're just talking in circles at this point.
I have never found a video game female character hot. I just don't possess that in me. Because I just not something that I have ever. I actually think that the hot girls in games argument is probably the weakest fucking argument on the planet when it comes to game development.
But you used it, and it was a major point in the video you showed me as well. And they look just like the voice actresses. So if I think that they look exactly like the voice actress, I think the voice actress is hot. I don't think that. What's weird about that?
I mean, it's a digital cartoon.
It's a depiction.
Finding cartoons hot is weird.
Okay. I mean, I'm not talking about getting off to it. I'm talking about attractive.
I don't
like a drawing of somebody, your wife, or something like that. Like you'd be like, oh yeah, this is attractive because it's my wife.
Yeah, that's my wife. That's a very, very, very different thing. But again, like I said, I even had this out with Shad and all them on stream a few weeks back. Like I've never played a female character in a video game except for once, and it was the only reason is because I had to play that to unlock characters for my companions that I otherwise couldn't access. But I didn't even beat the run through on that because I'd already been through the game 8 times. This is KOTOR 2, by the way. I'd already beat the game 8 times, 8 times. In my 9th time, I just made sure that I classed up those characters, and once I was done with their story or finding out their information, because it wasn't really like a character companion story. It was more like you just find out information from them.
Red Sonja wrote a female barbarian, a couple. Yeah. Robert E. Howard, wrote a bunch. But yeah, no. Attractive creator, because that was a point, and that was like a big reason where I'm like, dude, this is so fucking stupid, because he harped on the masculation of Shadowheart, who looks identical to the voice actress. So like when it masculating of women in games is definitely a thing that's going on. Pattern recognition, definitely something. Shadowheart ain't it.
Yeah, but you said that they did it to the other characters though. The muscle mommy shit and stuff like that, which again,
that's not uglifying.
So this is I don't like the muscle mommy shit.
That's fine. Nobody just said you had to. Some people do.
So Shadowheart, Jennifer English.
Yeah. Looks exactly the same.
Oh, they don't. Well, eye placement's weird, nose is off, the mouth is elongated. Like that does not.
What are you talking about?
That doesn't look the same.
Are you insane?
No.
dude, don't do this to try to win a point. That looks exactly
No, I'm not
exactly
trying to win a point,
alike.
dude. Do you want me to
If
pull it up
anything,
and do
her
the
face looks
pixelation?
thinner.
Like, do you want me to pull it up in the pixel again? But here's the other side of it, though. Too, I don't find video game characters.
I'm not talking about.
attractive.
I'm not. No. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I'm asking if she looks like her because the video made the argument saying that they uglified her.
She fucking. I don't personally find fucking Shadowheart fucking attractive because I don't find video game fucking pixels attractive.
I know,
so
but why do you keep saying that? I don't care. I'm arguing the point.
Look like her. The
You're
eyes
insane.
are different. The eyes are different.
Bring up another photo, I guess.
The eyes are different. The bridge of the nose is different. The nostrils are different. The mouth shape is different. Okay?
Her nose is a little bit thinner.
The jaw shape is
shape is a little bit skinnier.
The jaw shape isn't like
which that was a big thing he mentioned. He said the masculine of the jaw bring it out, which the actress already kind of has that.
No,
what's her name?
I get you there, but this
Pirates of the
doesn't
Caribbean
like
type jaw.
Again, doesn't look like the fucking character. And but again, I'm a bad person to fucking ask on this one probably because I just don't find video game characters fucking attractive. And like I said,
It's not. And
like I said, I know.
Stop saying that. We're talking about if the character's being masculated. Is the character being masculated?
No, in that photo, I don't think it is.
Thank you. Okay, move on to another point.
Okay.
So we could take that off of the accumulation of the subconscious wokeism.
So, I mean, this here, that looks like an alien chick.
And she does look like the voice actress as well.
She's got a bunch of... No, she doesn't. Look at the nose. That's fucking...
Well, of course, because she's an alien. She's the guy. That's a nose
aliens
of the
don't
alien
look like
species.
humans. That's a dumb point. Aliens don't look like humans. I'm sorry.
What point am I trying to make? I just...
No.
God.
This one here...
I'm saying, look, if you look, that's probably
here,
a bad picture to take. She has a lot of makeup on.
More rounder.
But she does... Look, this is not like a thing that people usually debate me on. It's just usually like very common that they did model the green chick after her, but it doesn't matter. That's what the race looks like. So like,
that's fine.
Even in the video, he said he thought that she was one of the more attractive models.
And again, I don't I don't particularly think that these character models are attractive.
I don't care.
And so, like, if he wants to go to the uglification of like women in video games, I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe I would fucking agree with that point, but
you would agree with that point.
Yeah, because I don't. But again, I don't personally fucking see how. Again, these don't look like the women that are represented there. They're definitely different. They're definitely fucking different. And I don't.
Majority of people would argue with that, but do you think she's uglier than the voice actor or intentionally made ugly?
For the alien race one, no, it's a fucking alien race.
You're right.
For this one here, I don't know. I mean, why does this one have the freckles? This one here looks a lot better than the one I just had pulled up.
Yeah, well, she's got blood and she's making a stank face.
Oh, is that what that is? Is that's blood?
I think so.
Okay. No, that's fine. If that's blood, then that's just a blood splash pattern. Yeah, no. As far as like the intentional uglification, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, that doesn't look fucking terrible. I think the Jaws
it doesn't look like they uglified the character. It doesn't look like the Star Wars character that they had that like obviously had huge
the double
jawline.
Chin. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't look like that. No, it's not that bad.
So I don't think that was done in there. Also, I didn't ever mention they don't have any fat body positive body types. Thank God. That would have been, which he was completely right. The character creation has a lack of character creation.
That was one thing I've seen consistent through. It seems like, and back in even like a lot of the alpha stuff that you played, it seemed like there was more options, or more. I don't
remember.
Or more sliders, or more, like, because I've seen that consistent through a lot of people. They're like, yeah, why did they limit this character creator to this point?
There might have been, I don't remember, but it sucks. Like, but woke, I don't think so. But all right, next point.
All right, what was the next? What was the next point?
Yeah, Last of Us. Yeah, there you go.
Want to talk about uglifying female characters with no form?
Yeah.
Dude, The Last of Us was fucking bad. We live streamed that, dude. That was the worst. That is. And here's the problem: the game itself, gameplay, mechanically and visually, is just absolutely, and even sound design and even voice acting is just absolutely fucking destroyed by that narrative. Like, I think the game literally fires on every single level except the most important thing that The Last of Us should fire on, which was the story narrative.
Yeah. So that's why this game gets away, or not gets away. It doesn't hit the same points as normal games where, like, you know, Spider-Man 2 or whatever the Spider-Man game was, where they made you play as that one chick that was like disabled.
Oh, yeah.
They forced you to do that. Like, that's
the handicapped black woman.
Yeah. Like, that's overtly.
So
whoa.
Okay, so one thing that he brought up too is there was an all, you know, they did the all-female battalion that you come up in.
It wasn't all female. It was he mentioned that there was like a female lead of that battalion. Which and that argument I would say, well, what about all the times it's not a female? And again, it's just like that's criticism of the world, because it's just that's what D&D has. It's,
no, and that so no, if it's not an all-female battalion, then yeah, that's definitely not a point. It was just like, oh, there's a female commander. It's like, well, I've seen.
Yeah, he
female
hung up
commanders.
on that one thing, and I was just like, that's weird.
So what's the name of that battalion?
I have no idea. It's a small group of. It's a really small group. It's like 5 people. Maybe it's all females. I don't think so. I remember seeing a guy in there. I don't even think that was his point. I think his point was I was like a female lead.
Or is it a battalion? I don't remember. I would have to remember what his point was. Or not his point, the name of the fucking... Something of the fire. What was it? I don't remember. I would have to find it again.
Like, I'll say this because I don't remember. Like, it's possible all the characters there at that point were all female. I don't believe so. But like I said, it was only like 3 or maybe 5 characters.
Yeah, and the only other side of it, too, is if they showed... The only other way to verify that... Oh, the Flaming Fist. Thank you. The Flaming Fist. I appreciate it. The only other... That was Seabats. Thank you. The Red Fist, the Flaming Fist. Was it the Flaming Fist? The only other way to verify that is if they absolutely had an all-male counterpart to that.
Well,
or if it was a mix.
So
or,
you can look at...
Because there's a way to do it. You can have the all-female... Then you can have, like, you know, the mixed gender, you know, battalion.
Well, you might see
and
something
then you have the
with, like,
all-male.
the drow, like the Black Elves, essentially. Like, their lore is very matriarchal. And something important to me, too, is that there are, true to whatever D&D's lore is, if they're changing things for diversity purposes in the lore, that's when it gets like, oh, okay. That's
okay.
Well, right.
So that goes back to kind of what I said because of, in the beginning, is Larian may not have had a fucking choice here in some of this because Wizards of the Coast is Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, I don't think they needed to, though, because like the game is diverse. Like it would automatically meet like check marks, right? So it's not like things need to really be changed in the first place.
So so the idea just in and of itself just being based on, you know, more modern day D&D. It's already that shit's just going to be baked in and built in.
Like I said, the world of D&D, it's boring. I prefer worlds that have more cultural influences on things, even as appearances. I think that adds depth. I think adding gender roles into your culture and stuff like that, and your races, I think adds depth as well. But that's just not D&D. So it's boring.
So again, in and of itself, like what did I get?
The Flame Fist? Yeah, there's a guy there.
Is it
there's two guys right there. It's 3 people. One's a girl. 2 guys.
Okay. I was gonna say I can't find any like images that shows the thing. And like I said, if he just like outright the Baldur gets drow, Druid walk through, the Flaming Fist meets a drow. Okay, so it looks like he's actually showing. It looks like the Flaming Fist you meet a couple of times, and one's
I think so.
And like an all-female version, and the other one's like the mixed gender version there. So no, I mean that point there may not actually be a fucking that one there. He might have been fucking reaching on. And like I said, I looked at a lot of different things when looking at this Synthetic Man. Yeah. He fucking like there's some shit that he even said about Ghost of Tsushima that I was like, all right, dude, no, that's
yeah. Like I said, I think that guy is a great, based off of that video showing me, he's a great example of just like calling woke, and it's not there.
Well, no, and that's the thing too. So if, I mean, in that regard, like it's not, like I said, that's the thing. I still think in the regard of just happening to avoid the gender roles in the companions and the character creator. And then the other thing too is, you know,
well, it's like, okay, so I don't think that's a valid point. Like, it's just that you've got too many characters that are advertised up front as being like, you know, as their backstories being upfront fighters.
You've got to, I mean, for marketing purposes, you want to show your characters doing cool shit.
He could have done cool shit casting a spell.
So
both of them could have been. Yeah, and also like they make the cleric a woman. Like that would have been the easiest one to do, right? Like don't make that a woman, make that a man. Like that's a version. It's just it doesn't have enough of those. Like I kind of get what you're saying, but it's like it's not enough. Those classes are subverted for it to be like to push over that the line to make that a point.
But again, but we're adding this up with what we've already seen through what we went on the character creator for quite a while.
The character creator is really the only point we've made so far.
So, well, no, but I mean, if you stack it up against, not only just like the gender bending stuff too, but I mean.
So I don't agree, but with the character creation and the class thing, are we past the woke threshold?
So, for me, yeah, we're definitely past it. I mean, we're past it in the character creator alone.
Is there things in the game? Okay, well, okay, not on your personal mind. I'm saying as the game overall is woke.
Yes. On the character.
I just don't. See, I disagree with that because like you're past the character creator and like the rest. Like let's say even just for example, the rest of the game is completely not woke, and it's like we're
any of this
characterizing it as a woke game with one woke aspect.
And here's the thing: if I were to spend $60 on it, I would still be rewarding them and paying them
for creating a good game and with the intentions
for the political decisions that they made. Like, don't just sit here and pretend that it's just like, oh, just a good game. No, they still put all the other bullshit in there.
Their intent, as shown from one of a lot of things that we've been discussing, was to create a good game, and that is the biggest focus on it. And they're not shoving down a political message down your throat. Because we even said that wasn't.
No, they're just making you think that it's okay. They're just making you think that it's okay. They're just normalizing it.
Again,
they're just normalizing it. Again, it doesn't have to be a Concord to be overtly bad. Well, Concord had a lot of other issues. Most people that I heard who talked about Concord, they didn't even talk about the political stuff.
If the character creator is woke, it's overall woke trash. That's what you're saying. Because you said before that you didn't say the whole game was woke trash, and this is essentially what you were saying.
No, I said flat out. I was like, the game might be good
because you said full Marxism. So I don't really categorize the character creation as filled with woke messaging.
But again, you're leaving out my other point where I said I absolutely think that they just happen to avoid the fucking traditional gender norms. You're leaving that point out. You haven't convinced me that they didn't.
But even so, like how would that? How would that throw you over the woke threshold, that little small point?
Because they're trying to normalize this shit in society by just throwing it in and saying, oh, this is just normal. Dicks on chicks, that's fucking normal. Oh, hey,
get past the character creation. Because you were mentioning, you're mentioning the class thing. You're mentioning, how is like having a female barbarian in one game, how is that normalizing taking away gender roles?
No. It's the fact that
it's not even a human.
It's the fact that the base class, not a character that you created. It's the fact that the base classes that Larian decided to choose, they intentionally chose to avoid what would be even the stereotypical norm. It just so happens that they just kind of avoided that. Now, again, Larian probably didn't do this. A lot of this stuff probably
you don't think that's like at least a weak point?
No.
Okay.
Why would I think it's a weak point? I mean, why would I think it's a weak point? Like, again, it's not a weak point if it's a pattern. Like, if it's, oh, shit, they had one character that they did it with,
It's
or
just
two
not a pattern. I
don't
don't see how you even counter that argument when they're showing, you got 2 characters being shown as upfront fighters, and then you got 3 characters shown as upfront fighters as male. So it's just again. But can we go on to other points? Because like you basically said, which I already agreed on. No. What you're basically saying is that the character creator is woke, so it is full of woke stuff. Which I
said
thought we were going to this discussion saying that like besides that we wouldn't just generalize the entire game as woke because of that one point.
And like I said,
but what you're saying now is that is the case.
No, what I said is that it's full of Marxist messaging, character creator being one, okay, avoiding the traditional gender norms accidentally, whatever,
okay.
That's fine. Okay. Moving through, well, I mean, you seem, one, obviously, country of origin is a major point there, and how I have to do business in there. Like, I mean, if people wanted to touch on the over-sexualization in the game, they can. That seems to be a big sticking point for a lot of people.
That's kind of like a discussion because is that a woke thing, over sexualizing? Because then you go about what about the male gaze thing? Because that's
as far as like the over sexualization in games, I just don't like it in general.
Yeah.
In fact,
I just don't know. I don't consider that woke.
One. I think the fact that they leaned so heavily on it in the marketing or when things were coming out,
I just don't see that as woke, though. Like,
in
that's
the
the same
interviews
crowd
that
that
were
bought
coming
Mass
out. Pushing over sexualization in society is not a good thing. Like,
I'm not saying it's a good thing. I just don't think it's woke.
That's not good. No, woke is culturally Marxist, right? So we stick to that. Like, does it?
Right, exactly.
Is it saying that society needs to change its viewpoint on these things?
So
because of
So can we maybe like go back a
point
point because all the black dwarves in the game are slavers? Like that's pretty unwoke. Do we go back a point if we have things like that?
What do you mean?
All the black dwarves are slavers.
I mean, who are their slaves?
Other races.
Okay, just random other races.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I'm gonna reach, and this would be a stupid thing to do, if I'm gonna, if somebody's gonna try to make a point, it's like, oh, well, the black people now they're the slave masters. That would be one of the only things. Now,
but it's shown as a bad thing. It's shown as evil.
Well, yeah, slavery is
so
generally
that's
evil.
Against the messaging.
Yeah. So the other stuff that I've pointed out doesn't matter because that doesn't.
I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm saying it's like can we maybe do a balancing act of like maybe some of the anti-woke stuff throws off some of the woke stuff.
Maybe.
Which again, I don't agree with.
And here's the thing. Like I said, I went into this. And like I said, you've already proven a few of the points. Like the Flaming Fist one was interesting to see. And like I said, that was just an odd. Even I was like, okay, that was weird. But like,
well, okay, let's go into the other point the guy made about the female god of a fantasy race as that being woke. Do you think that's woke?
No. The only thing I remember him saying is that it's very, very weird that the guy who was sleeping with a goddess for however long decides that he's gay if the player wants it, which I think in and of itself, it is bad game design to make character companions what they're calling player sexual now.
I think it's bad for story. Yeah.
I don't like that.
I just don't think it's propagandizing. I think it is for the purpose of giving the player's choice.
I think that feeds into the over-sexualization stuff. And
but that's not woke though.
So, I mean, not necessarily.
Over-sexualizing bad, not woke.
Yeah, so again, not necessarily that being woke, still bad. So it's like, well, it's not woke, but that still means it's kind of not playable for me.
But that's not the discussion we're having though.
So
if you said this was like a terrible game, never play, I wouldn't. My counter to
I've never even
everything
said it.
has been that you're saying that the game is filled with woke stuff, and that is where I'm countering.
Yeah, the game's filled with. Again, the game on its premise.
You said filled, but you mentioned the character creator and something that I'm really struggling to believe you on with the gender role of warrior and barbarian.
Well, not just warrior and barbarian, but I mean even the other classes too. Again, rogue's about the only one.
Wizards are typically a female class. Wizards.
A lot of I've played a lot of games where mages
Name one wizard that's female in Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
it's a trick question. They're all male.
I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, but also, I mean, I've played a bunch of games where my healers and actually, like, again, BioWare games and stuff like that. My healers and stuff were in most of those games.
This isn't targeting a younger audience, though. This game is overtly. I'm responding to Tim. This is overtly mature and not advertised to children.
The fact that you think people under the age of 17 aren't playing this game is a
I never said that.
Point. Yeah,
I never said that.
No,
it's important, though. The target audience is very important.
Yeah,
in the discussion.
The target audience is whoever's going to pay for it. Yeah. That's the target audience. The target audience is whoever's going to pay for it. And I mean, dude, I was playing Grand Theft Auto when I was 11 years old.
I know you're not going to stop people, but it's very important what they're targeting. Because if you have games or something like that that's targeting a younger audience, and you have like sexualization in there, that's a bad thing.
So the audience that would be really interested in this would be D&D players. How many D&D players would you say are probably under the age of 17? I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming there are some. Are there a lot? Are there a little? How does that?
I would say the D&D. I would say the D&D crowd on average is older. Obviously, they definitely have underage D&D players.
Well, yeah.
Like no shit.
No, and like I said, and that's why it's kind of, you get lost in the weeds on whether it's rated M for mature or whether it's being marketed to kids, because the fact of the matter is that that goes back to the whole thing about we even had like Mortal Kombat, where they say that that would normalize violence in society and things like that, and it just that wasn't true. Most people realize that was a beat 'em up game, and people view violence definitely differently than they view sexualization, and especially with how a lot of that stuff's being pushed. Like I said, it's not bad, or that is a bad thing, the over sexualization of the characters. I would argue, and for me, just in games, it's fucking dumb.
That's a good point. I mean, like, what about making Merlin a wizard? Is that subverting a gender role?
Merlin is always been.
I know it's the typical wizard class, is it not?
So,
like,
but
as far as when we think of famous wizards, what do we think of?
Okay, that's something that I hadn't thought about.
Yeah,
because again, I was reviewing back to games that I've played like this with my characters.
I mean, really, like if we're gonna be real, all these fucking classes are men.
Well, I would say healers, and like they did like Shadowheart. No, I would say healers. Traditionally women. I mean, we even saw that in like World War I and World War II.
Okay, so the one class that's definitely traditionally female is female.
I mean, no. So if you got me there, you got me there, and I will concede that fucking point right now.
All right, so we have the character creator, and we only have the character creator as a point right now. As this discussion is going, the character creator is the only point you have right now.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to bring up?
I have no idea. I don't remember most of the points in that guy's. You actually remember his points a lot better than I do at this point.
Yeah, they were fucking retarded. I go back to the drag queen. The drag queen who ran the circus, who was a necromancer that wanted you to do evil, is portrayed as evil. And your companions are like, hey, that's fucking evil. Don't do that. Unless the characters are, some of the companions are cool with evil. So
interesting. No, as far as D&D classes, my brain jumps to gender first. No, we're going off of a video. Like I said, I looked up some reviews and stuff to see whether or not I was going to play Baldur's Gate 3. And because I got hung up on that, wondering if it's something that I wanted to do. And it seems that, the opinions of some guys online that I've taken definitely reached and stretched and probably added in some of their own stuff. So,
Caroline brings up a good point. I think that pretty sure there's a couple pro-life quest lines in the game as well.
Is that an inference, or is that something that like, are you inferring that, or did they actually again? And that's one of those things with the story, because like I said, I've never heard anything bad about the story. I've heard the characters are decent. I don't like character romance systems because they're very limiting to what I've played before. This is the big thing. This game is with the guy's replayability argument. Mm-hmm.
you get different dialogue in so many situations depending on the class you're playing,
and even just
the race
talking
you're
with
playing.
my buddies, on that was he brought up like 2 instances where it wasn't the same, and I'm like, but I talking with buddies of mine, they're like, yeah, no, there's a lot there. That's why my buddies are urging me to play this, because I played a lot of fucking games like this when I was, younger. And it's something that I've just enjoyed. Well, big world fantasy games, things like that. But
and like I said, to the like anti-woke thing, like one of the first playthroughs I did, I was like, I'm gonna genocide all the tieflings.
Well, no, and that's
Like,
again,
the game doesn't stop you from doing that, and the game doesn't like force you into any position of where you're like, feeling bad for like for what you did to black people like in the past. You know what I mean?
Okay, so
like
as of right now, I've been misled on a couple of different points, even some that Razor had even mentioned. Although I still don't like
Razor made it. I agree with his video for the most part. I just didn't think.
He still praised. That's the funny thing too, is the synthetic man still praised the game. He still said he liked it and still wanted to play it.
He did, and
and like I said, so and that's the one thing is it's like, is there a threshold at which I might be able to get past this and play it with my buddies and we hang out, and we do that, right? Because even my wife, she's got it downloaded. No, I know you don't care about that, but here's the thing: that's the whole point of me having this discussion. Yeah. Am I fucking wrong? And if I'm fucking wrong, and on some points here, yeah, it seems like I'm fucking wrong. The flaming fist thing, that was out of context. That seems like he probably, because if I remember correctly, he said that he hadn't completed the entire game by the time of his review. And the reason for that is because because things are hot for so long and you've got to get it out. And in a game that you can spend 300 hours in, and you have to also edit and put out a YouTube video as well. And so I'm like, okay, maybe.
I think he played a fair amount of the game to make an opinion.
Yeah.
I agree that just his opinions were like shit, and he left out like valid information. Like when he just generalized saying, "Yo, there's a drag queen in the game. Need I say more?" And it's like, well, yeah, context is important.
Okay, so no, if that was the thing, because they just make it seem like that's just
the guy is I think
there.
honestly a dishonest. Like
no, and so if that is the case on that point, so I mean at this point, like I said, you've taken out some of my concerns. One of the things obviously being the gender bender stuff in the beginning of it, I just don't like that. And obviously the character creator, that point still stands. We both kind of agreed on that. We think it's fucking dumb that modern games are doing that shit. We do agree the over sexualization in the game, definitely bad. But as far as it being filled with a lot of the other stuff that people were saying was there, or even Razor Fist making the point that like the company being in Denmark? No, what did you Belgium. Yeah. Or the company being founded in Belgium, and the politics of that country probably having a sway on how the game was developed and so on and so forth. But again, I've even gone up and looked up, and like you can do a typical search. You can type in pick a company and then just type in diversity, and it'll actually bring up that company's like diversity and inclusion page. Larian doesn't fucking have one. And the only thing that I've ever found is they're talking about their Malaysian studio that is like, I think they said it's like 40 people in the article that I read, and they're like, yeah, and like they've got 23 men, and it's almost 50-50 male and women, and they're like, yeah, like we have to have diverse perspectives. And I'm like, okay, that's definitely not leaning into the political propaganda. And so what I'm starting to think is that as far as Larian is concerned, in the choices that they had in the game, when it came to what they were doing, they avoided the political propaganda messaging, however, probably had to tweak some things because they're probably working with Wizards of the Coast and things like that, and they had to make sure that they were inclusive, specifically only in probably the regard of the character creator. And everything else from what I'm seeing is that people are reaching in their points. They're leaving out context to try to say that they're correct.
It's important to say, like, with some of the advertising that went around with like the bear thing, if people noped out at seeing that, I totally understand. Yeah. Without context, it's like, yeah, that's totally like what the fuck is going on?
I will say this. Yeah. I did think it was funny right after the game released that, was it their lead developer or their CEO? I can't remember. Or is he the same guy? Anyway, they did that thing where they were like, oh yeah, it turns out a bug in our game had all of our characters way too thirsty for our player, and we have to go turn it down. And I'm like, fuck you. No, no, bullshit. You motherfuckers crank that shit up because you're some thirsty hoes in that fucking office and you thought everybody else was as thirsty as you. And the reason being is because if it was one character, it would be one thing. But it was all of the characters, and the character who everybody was like, why is this guy? It was the gay vampire.
No,
Like, his was actually
the gay
turned- and
vampire
they-
is
and-
actually
no,
pretty difficult to romance.
Well,
but
well, now this was on launch within its first 7 days, I think. They actually admitted this in one of their updates. They were like, a bug in our system increased the ease at which you could get laid by the characters, and that's why everybody was making the jokes in the first part of it that it was that these characters were so damn thirsty. And
was he kidding?
No.
He's like, oh no, bug in the game.
No, it was a legit thing.
I have no idea. This is
can-
the first time I'm hearing of it, but
I just saw it and I was like, what the? I was like, that's not a fucking bug. If it's every fucking character, I don't know. I've never programmed a game, so maybe it is a bug. But in the alpha,
and that's a
and
good point. Yeah, it was even in the alpha and the beta, because Caroline, my wife, tried to romance Asterion multiple times and failed. So it's like, was it a bug?
Let me see. See, that's the thing, because Baldur's Gate 3 bug.
Maybe she just got over it.
Right? Yeah, I gotta fucking.
He definitely hits on you because part of the character
and I've heard
is
about
like,
that, but God, I would have to find this. I would have to go back and actually find. It was just funny. I was even telling my buddies about that too, and I was like, okay. I was like, maybe now I don't know. I mean, maybe there was a bug that cranked up the values or turned down some. Why is it so fucking hot in this room? Sorry, it's really fucking warm in here right now. So no, but from what it sounds like, is that I was misled in the reviews and even some of the forums and stuff that I was looking into, and certain reviewers were making it seem like the game was a lot more heavy-handed in its messaging. And again, this is why I wanted to have this out over conversation, because talking with people makes it a lot easier to understand. You can add context quicker, right? It's not just like when we're on Twitter, like that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. It's like, well, because it's hard to add context on Twitter. And I mean, we went back and forth for 5 hours the other day, and I think that both of us have heard each other out a lot more in this one. And like I said, if I'm fucking wrong, and it sounds like I was.
It's an interesting discussion to have the nuance of this too as well, because it's like up front, especially with scenes that went around the internet. It's like, yeah, I get what people are thinking. No shit, they would think that,
right? Yeah. Well, and like I said, it was the bear thing was just like everybody was like, "What the fuck?" And
it's played off as a joke. A squirrel falls out of the tree because he's like, "What the fuck did I just see?"
No, and again, that was.
Why do they need a gay vampire?
They did make a gay vampire. Like I said,
well, they're all gay. I mean, they're literally all. Yeah, this is the gayest part of the game. They're all bisexual. That's fucking weird.
See, and I just don't like the player sexual thing. I just don't think.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of it either. I don't think it's because of propaganda. I think it literally is because they want to let everyone romance everyone. There was a character I was trying to romance in Mass Effect.
Makes them way too fucking thirsty.
One of the Mass Effect games, and it was like I couldn't romance the character because they were gay. I was like, damn it, I wanted to romance them. So I think they're on the same that way of it, which I think is I think they should put the limitations. I think it was good that the game was like, nah, you can't romance this character because they're not into you, dude.
Yeah, and that should be a thing, and that's like I said, that's so. Yeah. I was telling my buddy the other day, I was like, as far as because one of my favorite character companion things. Where the fuck is it? Or to Randy? Oh, there it is from the gamer. Okay, I did find it though. I did find it. It took me, dude. I had to get very specific with my search. I'll just show it to you real quick.
I mean, did you see a comment where my wife mentioning that there was a quest where this lady's trying to sacrifice her child, her unborn child, to a hag to resurrect her father, and so you're sent on a quest from some other NPCs to go save that unborn child.
So you're actually choosing to save a life there.
I did the reverse though, just to see what happens.
guess. I mean,
well, no. I did the. I did
but
it
it's the
right.
game. If you can do that, yeah.
I saved the child first because it also encourages you to, because the NPCs are going to be like that, right?
Yeah.
Well, unless the game's woke, then the NPCs would be like, it's just an unborn child, and that's where my argument is.
No, and again,
right?
like I said, it seems like you've pretty much blown up like all of my preconceived notions for this.
Yeah.
Because again, I was probably just, and it's really hard to, and especially, when. Because you've argued it differently than I have, or than even my buddy has, but my buddy's known me for too long. Anyway, but yeah, right here, this is the article.
So when you do let her sacrifice a child, it becomes an undead, like, ghoul thing, and they let you, like, control it if you want to. You can take control of it.
That's fucking wild. No, so, and like I said, still a couple other things in there, like I said. My favorite, I was telling my buddy the other day, I was like, here's what I would want. Because he's been arguing, he's got like 900 hours in this fucking game. He played it nonstop. If he had time off of work, that's what he played for like 6 months. Yeah. And one of the things I was telling him the other day, I was like, man, one of my favorite things when it comes to character companions is like they actually do something for you, like after you kind of like work through them. And I was like, my favorite thing to do, because I've seen games do various now nowadays it's just the romance option, which I fucking hate because it's just so limiting. Yeah. One of the things that I would like to see, because I've seen versions of this in different games where in one game, and I'd like to see them all combined. In one game, you get best bros with this person, and once you prestige enough with them, they actually add like buffs to your party and stuff like that.
Get certain items too.
Well, you could do that, but I've also seen where you work with other, and it's like, oh, you've been super nice to this character, so now all of a sudden they can just be way better crafters for you. So if you don't pick them, you leave them back, and then it's like they can craft, and then also the romance side too. I want to see that in all 3 games, but I wouldn't mind it if it were, all right, you got to pick one. They're going to be your best battle bro, they're going to be your best crafting bro, or they're going to be your best bed bro.
Yeah, Mass Effect was huge with that. Like Garrosh, I think his name was. Like, the dude is the biggest bro ever.
I thought about getting into Mass Effect, and my buddy for years was so pissed off about Mass Effect 3.
Everyone was super pissed because the ending was like 3 color changes.
He has
defended though
since
because the indoctrination theory.
No, I know. He has since softened on it, and he's like, all right. He's like, because he went back and he replayed them all.
The rest of the game's pretty good.
He's like, yeah. He's like, the rest of the game's really good. He's like, it's so worth the play. I'm like, all right. Because that's the thing. It's like, oh, I have to go off. Because for me, money's always been tight. So it's like, okay, if I'm going to spend my money on something, I better make sure that it's something that isn't a waste of money. And isn't like I said, I've had friends of mine fucking begging me to play this game with them for like over a year now. And especially my buddy knowing me and knowing the games that I fucking grew up with.
Yeah.
And how I like to play games and how I like story options and things like that. Like, I mean, I did 2 of the games that I played just a metric shit ton of. I've dabbled in a couple others, but were KOTOR 1, 2, and Fable: The Lost Chapters. And making character and player choices in those, the fantasy elements, obviously finding out about your companions. And KOTOR 1 was a little different. I'm interested to see how Obsidian works with Avowed, because Avowed is coming out in February. And Obsidian actually had time to make a whole game this time instead of having to do it in 14 months. So we'll see if they actually do something good. But I like games like that. I like the grand adventure.
Mass Effect has like the best sci-fi world building out of like any game.
That's what
It's awesome. Yeah.
I do like the fantasy side of it. Maybe I could get into the sci-fi stuff if it's like really good. The only reason I played KOTOR is fucking Star Wars. And
a big thing. So because you get Star Wars that are like all the races are just like different skin colors, right? Which is a similar argument that I have with fucking D&D, right? It's just fucking different skin colors essentially. Right. But like Mass Effect is like, no, there's like deep lore between all the different races in that.
I was listening to the Salt Factory's videos on it, and it's pretty. They did a good job. I mean, sadly, that writing team doesn't exist at BioWare anymore.
So I'll say like something that would be like overtly fucking woke in the game. Like, you know, I mentioned the Black Dwarfs, right?
Right.
Like, could you imagine like there was like a group of them, and they're like, "Hey, we got this quest for you because we're trying to prove that, you know, not all of us are slavers. You know, some of us are good guys." Like, if that was a quest in there and they like really encourage you to do it, it'd be like, yeah, it's fucking woke. I just don't see it anything like that.
No. And like I said,
you know.
and that was the thing. That's why I want to have the conversation, because you can come at it. You can come at it from a different angle than I was thinking about it. My buddy, he's already argued it with me a bunch, but he didn't think about it in the terms that he and I are very similar in our thought processes, so we oftentimes don't. But again, you came at it in a different way. You're like, no, this shit's fucking wrong. Here's why it's wrong. Here's why some of this other stuff may or may not have mattered. And like I said, well, and I mean, as far as some of the preconceived notions that I was told, it just, yes, it definitely had some things in there, but for the most part, the rest of the game doesn't really.
I just don't believe it crosses the woke threshold, and that's like my big argument. And I don't think it's pushing a message. At least there's no intent to push any sort of message into anyone.
Okay, and like I said, outside of maybe what, is it Hasbro? Does Hasbro still own Wizards of the Coast, or they've gotten rid of them yet? I think Hasbro still owns them, don't they?
I don't know.
I think Hasbro.
Well, it's like it also like depends on the license. Like, do they like, you know, they get the license and they're like, hey, these are the list of things you can't do, like, or does it have to go through some sort of approval process? Like, I don't fucking know, man. Because I think it's pretty open, especially with how like Critical Role uses it. Because I'm like, the big thing with D&D,
not so much anymore. They've really been changing a lot of that.
They tried. And they got some huge backlash because like that, and like I said, the D&D lore to me is really bland. It's boring, and I'm like, but it works great for generic fantasy, or if you just need a story or you need a world. Well, yeah,
because
for your
the characters
story.
are going to create the story. Yeah. The players are going to create the story in D&D. That's the point. You have D&D has less. I guess it's lore and story. It's more plot points.
There's a lot of lore to it. It's fucking. I tried because I'm a big lore person, and
is the lore mostly just wrapped up in the character races and stuff like that at this point? Because don't they have
there's like a lot.
50 of them or something now?
Yeah,
they've got like
they let you fucking play any race in that game. Yeah,
I wanted to play the lion one because I thought it was cool, but
it's a smaller race, probably. Yeah.
But it was a big ass lion thing, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
I like my
friends gave me shit and told me like, "Oh, Royce is a furry." I was like, "Fuck you guys!" So I played a half elf.
yeah. Like, do I wish they didn't use the D&D world? Like, for this game, but also it's like it's
generic. But even like that, it's like it's just generic fantasy world. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be the D&D world. I mean, like I said with like Dragon Age Origins, I'm going through that right now. I'm gonna go through 2 and Inquisition after I'm done with my buddy. He actually had never played Inquisition. He's doing it right now, and he's like, dude, it's worth going through 2 and Inquisition. So I'm gonna do those. But I mean, it's generic fantasy world. You know, it's
Dungeons and Dragons is big time generic. But like that's why I don't know. There's a lot of worlds, fantasy worlds out there that care a lot more. I mean that is what J.R. Tolkien kind of like left behind with his legacy. You know, deep lore. Fantasy worlds, and like encourage people to do the same.
It was his life's work. It was his life's work, and the fact of the matter is that, you know, people think that they're going to come up with a really cool fucking, you know, deep world similar to Tolkien in 4 or 5 years, and it's like, no, dude, this guy wrote for like fucking 40 years of his life or something. Because I think the original, like, he was in the trenches of World War One.
Yeah, Warcraft back in the day was great, and that went like, I wouldn't say overtly woke, but like they really were pushing the Sylvanas character, which is like a female undead, who was a really cool character, but they pushed her as like the main villain for like way too many expansions, and people are like, we're fucking tired of it. And they're obviously pushing her to be up there because she was a woman, and it's like, all right, fucking Christ, dude.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. It's like I said, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's one of the things. It's like when shit starts getting pushed one way or the other, and it's like, okay, like that's, and you know, and then, but again, it was interesting because I went back and I looked at a lot of stuff too, and I was like, okay, well, Larian definitely didn't go off the handle with any of the stuff. They copped to it. They're like, yeah, that's a scene in the game, all right. And I was like, oh, okay. But they also, again, you look it up. They're like, yeah, no, studio in Malaysia. And they're like, well, they're like diversity. And they're not talking about like gay diversity or black diversity or anything like that. It's like, yeah, no, we have men and women who work in our studio. The games that we write, you kind of have to have a different frame of mind to come up with the shit that we do. And I think they proved it. Not only that, but I was watching a video from Legendary Drops today. I actually dropped it in the Discord under the, I think, Gaming Talk. I should have put it in the YouTube channel discussion, but I dropped it in gaming because it's about gaming. But even the CEO of Larian was saying that like they kept their budget where they needed to do. They kept their expectations real, and they're like, yeah, it took them 6 years of full development, I think.
That's what I'm saying. Dude, the gameplay is insane for what the game
kept it.
is.
I think they said they only spent $100 million on that game, which is fucking wild. But again, I've
which
never said the
expansion
game.
is TBC?
What?
Sorry, you said which like World of Warcraft got shitty after TBC. Not Warlords of Draenor. There were so many shitty expansions of Warcraft. Warcraft 3 has like one of the best stories like ever. And that like that whole fantasy world, like even early World of Warcraft, like vanilla, like that world was fucking awesome. And it just went downhill like every fucking year.
Oh,
yeah.
That's I mean, that's one of the things is, that's why I've always been
Burning
a fan
Crusade.
of, like,
Burning Crusade. They introduced Flying Mounts into Burning Crusade. That was a mistake, but I think it went. Yeah. Frozen Throne was like the best though, like as far as expansions go, which was after. I'm sorry, you don't know the shit, but
no, you're fine. No, it's not that I'm not unfamiliar with it. Like I have friends who played it and stuff like that. But again, it was I gotta pay how much every month? I was like, fuck that.
Oh so, yeah, it's such a
dude,
and they're still doing that.
Most of the shit that I bought, most of the shit that I bought back in the day was used. Even on new game was still fucking.
Yeah.
Like
dude, so Warcraft 3
that I bought that I didn't wait for like 6 months until it popped up in like GameStop was like Assassin's Creed. The first Assassin's Creed was one of the only.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, it was the only brand new game that I bought that I didn't just wait to pick up a used copy. Because again, that shit was expensive, and like I didn't have the fucking money to buy every game out there.
If you enjoy lore videos, like if you look up Warcraft 3, because like Buddy Rabbit said, it's reverse King Arthur. It's so good, dude. It's basically how a paladin named Arthur like seeks out, because they're the town, or not the town, the kingdom is being overran by the undead scourge, and so he seeks out a blade that is most likely cursed, but he's going to do anything he can to save his people. And it's the sword in the ice instead of the sword in the stone.
Oh, that's interesting.
And once he gets it, starts corrupting him. He just does more and more evil stuff as he goes. It's such a good story. It's a downfall or like reverse character arc or something like that.
Yeah, it's the downfall of the hero or whatever they call that. There's a term for it, and I can't remember what it is. No, so like I said, it is fun conversation to have overall, and it was one of those things. It's like, well, been kind of talking with people about this mostly through text, a couple of friends of mine, and outside of people saying, well, I just disagree. And then they always, but that's why it was important to me to be like, okay, no, like let's talk about what the developer did, and you were able to do that, and that was one of those things. I was like, why does everybody go back? Like I'm talking about Larian, but I've never actually said in a debate with my buddies about this game. I was like, no, talk about what the studio did, and if I would have said that to my buddies, they probably would have convinced me of this, even further back. But like I said, that being said, it sounds like I would definitely had a misrepresentation in my head of what the game is. Yes, there may be some things that I disagree with, but it sounds like overall, what people were reaching for in certain parts of the game are just not really present there. It's like,
the synthetic man's interpretation was pretty fucking wild. I never played BG1 or 2. I only heard of Baldur's Gate when 3 came out and played the alpha crazy bunch. But
no. And like I said, it's funny. I've even heard, like I said, I heard, I've heard several people talk about how they had to just do the token woke stuff and like Ghost of Tsushima, and I've even heard Razorfist say that. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, that's kind of what I brought up.
Razorfist said it, Synthetic Man said it. Like that's just a line. Like, and it's what pisses me off so much. It's just like, okay, gay doesn't mean Marxist. Like, let's get back to like, are they trying to? Because the fact of the matter is gay people have been pretty much normal in society for thousands of fucking years. We can go back. And we see the stories that the Greeks told, things like that. You can agree with it on a religious level or disagree with it, all that stuff. That's fine. The fact of the matter is that that's not a political agenda to just say, oh, hey, this one character is gay, and then Ghost of Tsushima had girl bosses all over the screen, and I'm like, huh? I'm like. That's a fucking
I was trying to like I said it at the moment, but I was like, there's like two female.
There are three female. Well, there's two female characters that you deal with. There's good, one that you go on a chase of, and she's like a really good archer. The other one's just like a thief trying to save her brother. And then the other one is a woman whose sons and husband died on the battlefield, and whose so she was living at the house with her daughter-in-laws, and their grandchildren, and her daughter-in-laws and grandchildren were slaughtered in front of by barbarians. So she goes on this whole thing to track down who, and it turns out it was her spiteful ass bitch sister that did it. So I was like, but they were like, well, but Lady Masako was gay, and I'm like, well. Lady Masako's husband was a samurai out fighting like a bunch of battles and wars and shit. And one of her housekeepers, who is a woman, kept her company while her husband didn't keep her company. Yeah. And I'm like, I wouldn't call that overtly like woke. Like I've actually heard of that happening. Not saying it's good.
It's like, again, where we say if you accumulate a number of things, it's like, you can consider that, but like there's not enough of what you're saying to accumulate to that. And that's why it's like when people are like surprised or like this is crazy. The Bear Sex game had won Game of the Year, and it's like, dude, everyone who was playing the alpha was like, this is probably going to be Game of the Year when it launches, because the alpha is not like a short alpha or anything like that. It was
there
massive.
For years, if I remember correctly.
Well, not the length. I'm saying like the amount of gameplay you had in it was massive. Like 40 hours easy in that game in the alpha. And like every time you went to replay it, like you'd find a new item that like, and then all of a sudden you get summoned into a demon's like lair, and then he's gonna like fucking challenge you or whatever. The guy also said that there was only like, it was barely directional. I'm like, dude, you're insane. Like you didn't look hard enough for other.
What do you mean barely directional? I don't.
Well, he was like, what's it called? There wasn't like, there's multi paths to like to enter a situation. He was like, but there was like only like 4 paths. He said it was pretty linear, the gameplay. And I'm like, that's fucking insane, dude. That's not a linear game in any way.
And like I said, and even if it were, that wouldn't turn me off, because like I said, I actually, is it fully open world or is it gated at all? Because I'm not full open worlds. I have an issue with. I prefer like staged open worlds. I prefer staged open. Like
it's not open worlds like you would think like open world game. Like no, it's every part of the world is there's intended like part. It's not like any place is empty. I guess you wouldn't say open world, like, but is it? There's so many different paths. It almost feels like it. I don't think the correct definition would be saying.
No, I mean if it's just mapped out. If it's just if it's just map, it's not an open world map. Yeah, if it's not an open world map, that's fine. I'm liking open worlds less and less and less. Like they're fun. Yeah. I think Ghost of Tsushima is probably one of the last ones that I think did it well, because you didn't just have the whole fucking map accessible to you. It was like, no, here's a really big chunk of map that you can run around and do. Yes, open world, but it's like, but you can't go to the other map unless you absolutely complete these. Like, I don't mind when stuff is gated like that, right?
Yeah,
if it's a gated world, I think that actually works better for gameplay and even narrative than
most games. Majority of games do not fit open world, right?
No,
it's just
I think,
and Halo going open world, insane.
That's stupid. Those people don't get it, man.
It was so bad.
That's not. I talked with my buddy, and he was like that. He's like, Infinite wasn't bad, and I was like, you sound like there's a question mark there, and he's like, well,
no, they fucked. I'm so pissed about Infinite, dude. It got open world, and I was like, and I didn't want to play because it was released as single player, and I'm like, okay, I got open world. I'm like, I'm not doing this until I can fucking get co-op going, and then they dropped the co-op, and I'm like, dude, you literally said you were gonna release it. What the fuck?
They 343.
They had a mod, like there were modders or something like that put co-op into it, and yet they couldn't fucking figure it out. I'm like, I got ripped off so bad on that.
We started playing the free multiplayer that they dropped because I was like, okay, this is a good marketing thing. Started getting into it, and I was like, this doesn't feel like Halo. And my buddy's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I was like, I don't know. There's something with the movement, the way that the response is, like, it feels. And my buddies were.
It was like Call of Duty 5.
Dude, it was. It was like Call of Duty. It didn't feel. Halo had a very. It didn't have the hyper twitchy fucking movement. No, it was very. You're a fucking super soldier. There's only so fast you can turn, right? Like, and you can kind of tweak that with your controller and stuff. But like, I played the most of a game that I have ever played in. The most of a game that I've ever played was Halo 2, and I have no bullshit. I probably had
most people our age played Halo 2 religiously.
Dude, I 4,000 hours in that game.
Yeah, Halo 2 had the scarab in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
I used to travel around with my Xbox in my backpack and like take over to friends' houses that didn't have Xbox.
Yeah, but no, it was. No, that, like I said, that's why I wanted to have this, because I was sitting here, I was like, all right, I'd rather have a discussion about this. I'd rather see what they have to say. And I've always said if somebody like was able to change my mind on it, I'd probably, if I get the money, I'd probably pick up the game and check it out. Because like my wife, she tried it by herself because she's like, I don't give a fuck about any of that stuff. And she even thinks I'm over the top on the shit. And you've met my wife and you know how she talks about the government and shit like that. So but she's just like, no, I think you're being stupid. I think you pay too much attention to this stuff. I'm like, I don't fucking know. I just want to make sure that if if I'm going to play something or deep dive, in some hours into a game, like I do it. Because like I said, Ghost of Tsushima, I've beaten it 3 times. The first time that I beat it on my buddy's PlayStation. I beat it on my buddy's PlayStation, and then that was just through the game. Second time, full playthrough, Iki Island, whole thing. Like, I will put hours into a fucking game. Dude, I've got 150 hours into Pal World. No, more than that, actually. Actually, wait. I wonder how much.
That's open world, right?
Yeah.
It works for that.
So the answer is yes, but the other answer to that is you really want to make sure you're where you're in an appropriate area for the level, because
well, it works for the game.
Yeah. Why won't you go where I want you? View games library. Okay. I only have 6 hours in Space Marines 2. I thought we played more than that. No, I have 177 hours in 177.4 hours into. So if I get lost into a game, I'm just straight up. We're just gonna swan dive off of it.
Yeah.
Because that's how I do.
Yeah, I heard you're just like stepping your toes into Warhammer universe.
I like lore. I really, really like good lore.
Yeah, Warhammer's lore, man. It's got a lot.
I might not ever play the tabletop because that is just a money pit.
No.
And I'd rather sink my money into big ass pieces of meat that I can put on my smoker. But dude, the lore for Warhammer 40K. Although Buddy Rabbit and somebody else in the Gilded were going off that they're trying to make they're trying to say that like female space marines.
They are, and that's the line. It's been a big battle for fucking years.
Oh, that's a years thing. That's not like a recent thing.
So Games Workshop, they own the IP. They have been fighting a lot from what I hear. Like, but they're also like the greediest fucking company ever, and like, so people hate them. But from what I've heard, they also are defending the lore changes as well, though. Like, dude, like people like they will like take down anyone that makes like free content. Like, if you ever go on YouTube, look up the Astartes. You seen them? Yeah.
Well, I know that the Astartes is the name for the Space Marines.
Yeah.
Well,
somebody made like this by himself. Made this video. It was a series of videos. Somebody put it together. That is some of the most amazing effects, and it's fucking awesome. Highly recommend it. It's only like 20 minutes or so. Watch that. And then they like basically they hired him. Nobody's seen a project from him since. If they could have had it their way, they would have just completely like taken it down.
But that would have. But well, I mean, look at what D&D's tried to do with some of their shit. When D&D was like, oh hey, by the way, all of our stuff now digital only. You're not going to be able to. And people were like, wait, what? And then and if your characters want to play, by the way, everybody has to pay us now. And people are like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That damn near killed 5e.
Oh, absolutely. So they're mentioning
actually,
like the big
Chris
change
Stratton,
that
I actually have. Rogue Trader is in my wish list.
Yeah, they're mentioning like the big change and Games Workshop. We don't know if they had to like fold on this or whatever, but recently the Custodes, which is like a chapter of like super Space Marines essentially, that are like the Emperor's like guards, they are all male.
Yeah.
Right?
No, and I heard that in the lore. That
they,
was like one of the first things that I heard listening to these lore videos that I was doing. How the fuck?
Well, the Space Marines are still all male, but they were able to change. They literally went in and changed their lore that there is now female Custodes, and it's bullshit. And it's been a big debate online because there's some woke people that are in the Warhammer community being like, it's whatever. And it's like, dude, they had 2 female only like human warrior types that basically you got the Sisters of Battle, which are essentially female Space Marines. They're a little bit different.
Yeah.
So it's just like, stop asking for female Space Marines. You essentially already have it. And then you have the Sisters of Silence that if you look at them, they look like just basically the Custodes, and they essentially are the female Custodes. And now they change it so now there's also female Custodes, and people are pissed because they were like, it was in the lore. You need to be a male in order to withstand the genetic modifications to become a Space Marine or a Custode, and you need to be female to become a fucking Sisters of Silence or in Sisters of Battle. Yeah, so it's like keep that. Well, that's what the lore says.
Yeah, and they were like, yeah, no, that's but they didn't say that a dude could be a Sister of Battle because most of the tourists, from what I understand, have never fucking heard of any of the lore. I just giving people a sneak peek of my wish list here. There's a lot of like indie games on here I really need to get by. But anyway, no, and that was one of the things that it's Baldur's Gate. Oh God, fucking Rat Hippo. No, like I said, it was just, it was an interesting conversation. And again, it sounds like I put a little, and it's actually one of the things that I've been noticing more is a lot of the people that I put a lot of faith in to get like news about stuff and trust, like they've been falling through the cracks. Like lately, like Cabrutus is off base on, like he kind of irritated me with his golden joysticks thing, where he said that they pretended that Space Marines 2 and Black Myth Wukong didn't exist, and then he only showed like the Game of the Year categories, and he didn't actually show the best design category where those games were fucking featured. It's like, well, that's not pretending something doesn't exist, Grum's going out there trying to fucking reach to say that because the CEO of Sweet Baby Inc. is a vulture culture person, which is somebody who collects skulls and stuff like that, and that makes her not a good person. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, I got fucking animal skull. I got a fucking giraffe skull in my living room because my wife connects that shit. Like,
yeah. Well, like that's like I've talked about it on my channel with at the Act Man because and he had this guy Andy Pants fucking gaming, and it's like essentially this Andy Pants Gaming is this fucking guy who's just grifting hard off of calling things woke. Not to say that all of his points are wrong or anything like that.
Well, that's
but
the
he's
problem.
obviously
Is
grifting.
there's enough validity in some of this shit, and I mean, I'm gonna be really honest with you. Like, I've already seceded the point that Baldur's Gate 3 probably not what I thought it was, and I was misled on that. And I'm gonna think about it if I can. And I probably will if I can get past the character creator. I will probably download it and play with my buddies because we've all been wanting a game that all of us can play for a while now. But like, I didn't do. But again, I only have so much fucking time in the day to actually be able to fact check all this shit. But anyway, go on with what you were saying. Actman Andy Pants Gaming.
Oh, it gives like, because the Act Man is his own thing. He's got his fucking problems, and like people keep on calling him out for like mentioning the obvious issue in a lot of these games is like, how can you forget to mention that there was a fucking Marxist agenda being pushed to this game, and it contributed to the failure of a game like Concord, right? It's just like he always leaves it out, and people are criticizing for it, and it just gives ammo to him to be like, nah, it's just a bunch of people just crying woke all the time. Like, things aren't.
You know what I'm seeing though is a lot of channels out there, and it seems to be really fucking consistent. Because again, people cried woke over Baldur's Gate 3 apparently, and that seems to be wrong. SBI obviously.
It wasn't too much people crying woke.
There were some. There were, people cried woke on Spider-Man 2. That game still, I mean, it still sold well enough, but they spent way too the fuck much money on it.
And it's questioned if it did actually hurt it. And I think it did. I think a lot of people play the game and they're like, are we going to get another game that's going to force us to play a fucking mission like this?
Here's what a lot of people are saying who are not in the politically initiated side. And I find myself listening to them a lot more because their predictions seem a fuckload more accurate than the people who are crying woke all the time. Is what I'm hearing from guys like Legendary Drops, Luke Stevens. I like Legacy Killer HD. He's pretty good. I've been watching a lot of his stuff lately. Bellular News. I've been watching Bellular for years. Been watching Bellular for years. But when they come out, they're like, gameplay was uninteresting. Character models weren't good.
But I think there is an element of wokeness within the company that contributed to that gameplay because they focus their funds on the wrong thing. And that's where it's just like people are not paying attention.
And a lot of these guys will admit they're like, or like they'll admit when it's so overt that it can't be ignored. And they're just like, come, really, guys, what the fuck? Like, we know what you're fucking doing. Like, Luke Stevens has said, like, when Yasuke in Assassin's Creed Shadow is on screen, he's like, there's hip-hop music playing in a historical Japanese game. There's hip-hop music playing because a black guy's on screen. Really? He's like, come on, dude. Like,
you know what's good about that, though, is, like, now it's kind of being debunked that he ever existed. Everybody just bought it. They're like, yeah, sure, I guess there was a black samurai. And now it's coming out that, like, he probably never existed. I think people just made him up.
There is a historical record of a black dude in Japan around that time.
Right, whether he was a samurai or not.
Who may or may not have been a samurai, but probably swung a sword at someone at one point in time. But that is about it. That's like,
which would be hilarious if that is true. And we, like, for fucking 10 years, we just created this lore, had a fucking show created based off of this fucking this guy, hundreds of years ago, just swung a sword once while black, and and now there's a fucking show dedicated to him.
While black. That is the best definition of Assassin's Creed Shadows. Oh my god, that's great, dude. Oh,
if it's true, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I need to tweet that out. That's so fucking good. Maybe I won't, because a lot of people have been calling me woke lately because I'm not just sitting there screaming the politically obsessed bullshit. I'm looking at the finances of the games and what the money is doing and how it's being spent, because that is so much more of an interesting conversation than just crying woke yet again.
Well, and that's my concern, is not you, but like the perception from other people being like, oh, he's defending the bear sex thing. He's a fucking furry. I'm like, am I going to get comments like this now?
You might get comments.
Oh, I might. Yeah, but like what's the volume going to be like?
In my mind, in my mind, I remember you saying you thought the bear sex was hot as fuck. You're absolutely afraid. It was there, like guys, it was there, right? He said that thing in this thing that we just did on the internet, right? I remember it. He's a furry. We're going with it. But no, I'm just fucking with you. No, but like I said, it's just wild, dude. And it's I'm starting to see the cracks with a lot of the people. Fucking Razor Fist coming out and be like, nobody even fucking knows who Wukong is. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
well, I'll say this: Larian probably squeezed through the cracks part because they're not that big. I'm pretty sure they're pretty small.
They were technically considered a double A.
Double A, right? Double A seems to be scooting under the like until they get like big notice. Or at least now it feels like this year Double A has been getting a lot more notice. Like with what was the Super American fucking Starship Trooper game?
Helldivers.
Yeah, Helldivers. Like I feel like like when with Helldivers' success, like they started taking notice of Double A games a lot more. But I think part of it not being
did
infected.
The same thing. We've actually talked about this a lot. Like, so if you look at the last year, because Baldur's Gate full release about a year ago, was it August or October? Do you remember? It was August.
I don't remember.
Oh wait. When did this one come out? When did this article come out? September 3rd. So yeah, it was August when they came out. So a little bit over a year. But inside of a year, you pretty much had, or just over a year, you had Baldur's Gate 3, you had Palworld, you had Helldivers. There was another game in there that I always forget, but there was another one that was like decent.
Right.
But then you had like Black Myth Wukong, you had Astrobot, you had Space Marines 2 come out. Just games that are just absolutely just murdering it. Like doing really well. There was I was gonna say there's one I put on my wish list here that I thought was in there as well. No, maybe I was wrong.
Dude. I'm sorry. I'm just remembering one of the points the guy brought up. He's like, yeah, you can suck the toe of you can lick the foot of a goblin. And I'm like, why did you choose that?
Oh, like, that's a choice.
Your companions judge you because, well, basically you have a confrontation if you enter the goblin area without confrontation. They're assholes, but he's like, hey, come here, fuck you, and he's like, bow down to me or whatever, and kiss my foot, and you can intimidate him, you can fight him, or you can comply and kiss his foot, and your companions will judge him, and then they'll even give you a little thing, lick his foot too. He'll fight you if you lick his foot because he's like, what the fuck you doing? But I'm like, why did that guy choose to lick the goblin's foot?
That's weird. Like I said, no, and it's getting really hard to just constantly.
Again, the companions judge you, as in that was
no,
fucking weird, dude.
No. I'm totally agreeing. Like I said, you fucking already won me over. Like I said, it's just this more and more and more. I'm seeing people, because I kind of pride myself on my integrity. And which is why I said here, like, yeah, if
that's why I need to correct the record.
Well, yeah. I was like, look, if I'm fucking wrong, I'm fucking wrong. And it sounds like I am. It sounds like I've been wrong for a year. But again, there were a lot of people out there that I thought held that same standard. And I'm just starting to see a lot of cracks in our side making what seem to be bullshit points in various other areas. And I'm just like, okay, I'm going to defend my personal beliefs. I'm no longer going to defend anybody the fuck else who, well, this guy thinks the same way you do. I'm like, probably fucking not, but I don't know what that dude said because I just can't do it anymore. I've seen too many people just hate wild fucking takes that are just way too out there. Yeah. Way too out there. And it's just, and I can't do that. I can't be that guy. I don't want to be that guy. That's why I'm like, changing up how I talk about the things that I'm talking about and the way that I'm talking about them. And like I said, I find it more fun to look at the financials, to look at, sales reports, to look at like how something's wish list, how it's trending. Overall conversation, both sides of the conversation online, like a lot, like for Dragon Age the Veilguard. My buddy, he's flat out said he's just waiting for reviews. He's like, played Origins. He loves Origins. He's played 2. He's like, I'm fond memories of 2. He's playing Inquisition now because he's like, yeah, I bought it, but I never fucking.
Well,
So
I mean, like personally, I'm out on the zipper tits.
see, and my buddy,
Yeah.
my buddy told me, he's like, I don't give a fuck, dude. He's like, I didn't give a fuck about dicks on chicks. He's like, I don't care about this shit. And like, that's where he was. He's like, it's the same fucking thing. He's like, I didn't care about it on this other game. I'm not going to care about it in this game because he just doesn't. He's like, yeah, I don't care because for him it's like if the gameplay is good and the story is good, that's all that matters to him. Anything else, he's like, I don't care. Because I'll be like, yeah, dude, but this stuff is in there. He's like, yeah, and I don't have to choose it. Who gives a fuck? I don't have.
Yeah,
like,
but I
the
think
company did it, and he's like, yeah, but I don't care.
Like
and here's
we
the thing,
said,
is, like, a lot of like
it's the story and everything else is going to suffer because
and he's going to wait
that.
for reviews though. That's the thing. He's not just insta buying it.
I think it's like impossible to have good story with any sort of messaging in there. I think it's like it's a fucking what's it called, oxymoron or something.
I mean,
like that.
I don't necessarily think so. And my classic one for this, and people get mad, and I'm like, but for the time,
Sure.
okay. When Star Trek came out, Star Trek was a progressive show. For its time, I would argue it's the same fucking thing. It's the inevitable conclusion, right? We are seeing the inevitable conclusion of everything that we put into motion 50 fucking years ago. But here's the thing. Everybody's like,
I don't watch Star Trek. I never did. So
yeah, no, I never did. My parents started to show me a movie one time, and I was like, "This is boring. I don't care." I was like 5, probably. Like it was one of the movies. I can't remember. I've never seen the original series. But again, it's one of those things that you look at it, and it's like, okay, there is a way to do messaging that people will enjoy across the board. And I think somebody said that they had like the first like gay kiss in Star Wars, or not Star Wars, Star Trek. They had the there was a lot. I was talking with Mike Miller and Shad about this, and I'm like, yeah, no, there was a lot of definitely like left-leaning political bias in there with a strong left-leaning message, but the stories were still told very well. So I absolutely believe. I just don't think these people are smart enough to include their message and also write a good story. I just don't think that they're capable of it.
I'm not arguing this point. I'm wondering if there is a distinction or a difference because of the time period and
possibly
there wasn't like a governmental backing and push for it. It was based like it's completely different since it was based off of the creators' views and also their intent to write a good story. Like that's also a huge part. Like whenever you take away the intent to write a good story so you can try to push a message, like that's that it's like it defeats it, right?
Yeah, no. And it's one of the things it's like that's where you got to get hung up on it. But like I said, I know people that are like, they're like, I'm looking at the game. And I'm seeing conversations online too, where people are like, I'm going to wait to see reviews. They're like, I'm not pretty. And some people are like, it's an insta buy for them because they like Dragon Age Origins and they sound really stupid. They're just like, nope, it's Dragon Age Origins. Love this series. Already pre-ordered it, set up, ready to go. There's other people that are like, it's woke trash. We're not doing this. And then there are other people that are like, I'm going to wait for a review. I don't care about any of the politics in this. Never really have. Don't care. I'm waiting for a review.
Well, I mean, trailers are made for people to form opinions on it and to judge things before. So I based off of the trailers, I wasn't going to get it either way, but I'm out.
And my buddy said that first one was rough, but he's seen what they've done since, and he's like, I'm not against it. But again, he's just going to wait because he's like, I like the series. And he's also kind of waiting to see if the new BioWare is going to redeem. I don't think they're going to redeem themselves. I think it's something crazy. I think it's fucking. I think they're smoked on this one. But again, it's really hard.
Kirk hit a lot of women in that show, didn't he?
I think Kirk.
Well, I think that's the important part. Like,
never mind.
Is it a progressive like story being told? But like, was the pure intent to tell a good story? And I think that's a huge factor.
Well, open. I mean, again, we're talking in the 70s, so like Kirk being openly, as sexually, promiscuous as he was very much a thing there. There were some other things in there. They put, people that they had gay characters in it. They talked about, fuck, I can't remember. I'm not good to speak on that. I just know some of the things that people have told me. They're like, yeah, it definitely had left-leaning. But it was what a lot of people would call liberal, which back in the day was closer to what. Well, fuck, I can't. God, I hate using titles anymore because there's so many fucking stupid people that just destroy shit. And they're like, no, Royce, this means this. I'm like, no, it fucking doesn't. And I pull up the definitions, and people are like, why are you pulling up definitions? I was like, because I was taught to read the dictionary. I used to ask my parents what shit would mean, and they would go get the dictionary. I'm like, no, I'm good. And then I was in trouble if I didn't go get the dictionary. So I got the dictionary a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's like people don't realize that dumb means that you're like, you don't talk, or you're like, you lost. Yeah, you're dumb. Whatever. Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, blind, deaf, and dumb. Yeah,
blind, deaf, and dumb. People are like, wait, what? I thought it was just stupid.
No, blind, deaf, and dumb means you're mute. But a lot of people,
mute. That's what I meant, mute.
Accuse Royce of banging into hentai. The anger will return. What the fuck?
Hey, you should have seen the pre-show. I had Royce crying right off the bat.
Fuck.
Oh, do you deny crying in the beginning? Face turning all red? Do you deny that? That's fact. I'm not lying.
No, fuck you. I had sawdust in my eyes because I could. Fuck you. The sawdust had me crying, okay? Let's get it right. That fucking hurt.
We were talking. I know what happened.
For that fucking, fuck you. That's okay. That's okay. I remember you being a furry, so I'm good with it. No, but anyway, so like I said, a fun conversation overall. And like I said, I think I was fucking wrong on this. And I just kind of got to a point where I was like, all right, I need to fucking just have a conversation with somebody. We'll go over some things. We'll figure out if I'm right or wrong. Sounds like I'm wrong. And it sounds like I need to start, like, just not fucking trusting. Like, again, I'm finding more consistency.
Don't lose trust in a lot of people, man.
I'm the people who are like politics rah 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 all the time. I'm kind of losing faith in those guys because they just don't seem as accurate as the people who they will acknowledge that the politics are there, but that's not the whole shtick. Yeah. And they're not grifting off of that. And I'm kind of fucking done with everybody crying woke because they've absolutely destroyed the term. It was a leftist term that the left wanted to be called.
Yeah, no, I remember.
They wanted to be called that. And like I said, and the people on the right, like the good little bitches that the fucking right always does, is they fucking adopt the language of the left and they do what the left wants them to anyway. And that's why I've been telling people stop.
Yeah, but now they don't like being called woke. I don't know if it's necessarily that bad.
The
bad part is that just entirely too many people use it without even having a hint of what it is.
No, that's
I remember my stepdad was like, it was like not that long ago too. He was like, this movie was bad. It was woke, right? And I'm like, no, it's just bad. He's like, no, that means it's woke, right? I'm like, oh my fucking God.
That's the fucking problem is people think that it's just like Gen Z slang for bad. And it's like, that's not what it is. Please stop using the word. Please. Yeah. Can we please? And people are like, I'm going to call them this all the time. I'm like, that's what they wanted you to fucking do. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you know, to be fair with some people with Baldur, because, like, look, I think it's kind of fair with like the assumptions people are making with Baldur's Gate, you know, because of things that they saw and things that were going around the internet. I get where they got their ideas, and especially when you're trying to compare the D&D world to like Lord of the Rings world, where everybody's complaining, being like, why the fuck are the elves so goddamn diverse in Lord of the Rings? And then they see in Baldur's Gate and they're like, why are they so diverse? And it's like, well, because it's built into the lore of D&D, which is, again, lame. And it's specifically built into Lord of the Rings lore that they're all white. So that's going against the lore and it's twisting it for a political
and it
message.
Was because you knew anything about Tolkien is he wanted to build. He's like, well, there were no grand fairy stories that were strictly English. Like he's like, you look back, it's like we get a lot of ours from France. He even cited King Arthur. He's like, a lot of our stuff is French. And he goes, but we don't have strictly an English folk tale. Right. A really strong English. And it wasn't British. It was English. His phrasing there was English. He was a proud Englishman, not a Brit. And that's Catholic, why he wanted to write what he did, is because he wanted to write something that his countrymen could be proud of, that they had a folk tale built around British culture and what they were. That's why the hobbits were the way that they were, right? And again, it was fantastic to see him do that, and a lot of people just can't fucking understand that. And like I said, you know, when it comes to all the stuff, so basically at this point, like I said, I mean, if I can get what's up?
One of the woke things that happened in Warcraft, I remember it only lasted for a little bit, but like the blood elf race, they gave you like black.
God damn it.
See,
I thought I got rid of all of it. Son of a bitch.
You know, you said something I didn't like, so I'm gonna make you cry.
So dude, the sawdust. I thought I got all of it off of me, and it fucking fell off of my eyelashes.
They made black blood elves, and they were like, "Can we at least get a lore reason why there's now black blood elves?" And they're like, "Nah." And it was just like, but like they weren't even like white. Like, yeah, the regular elves were white, and they are, you know, they've transformed from regular elves to blood elves, but they're all red. Like they're in different shades of red. They get dark red to regular red. And now they have black blood elves. I'm like, this is weird, dude.
Don't you know blood is black? Fuck. Oh God, fucking. All right, dude. So, Bats, thanks for coming here, having a conversation with me. It's been absolutely fun. I got to do this more with people more often because I don't, and I should. But
it's fun to have discussions. Yeah,
it is. I do like it. Well, especially when people can kind of keep their heads and you're like, wait a minute, hold on. But anyway. It's sawdust. I'm not crying. It's sawdust. Yeah, dude. Fucking.
Let the record show at the end of this debate, I had Royce crying.
No,
Royce was in tears.
I fucking hate you all so much. Batsauce, what do you do? Where can we find you?
I'm Batsauce on YouTube and on Twitter. Follow me. I make videos and stuff.
Go do that thing.
Yeah.
You know, with the buttons and the clicking and the subscribes and all that shit. That's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I got a video like talking about why racism in fantasy, writing racism in fantasy. You know?
Wait, why are you writing about racists in fantasy?
Because it's good!
Oh, racists are good. That's
in fantasy and world building, yeah. Racism works very well for story writing.
It actually, yeah, all right. You're not incorrect.
Yeah. I mean, shit, like Lord of the Rings, the elves hate the dwarves. They're very racist against each other.
Yeah.
Legolas said some whack shit against Gimli.
I mean, Gimli also said some shit about Legolas too. They just got that out of the movie because they didn't want. Yeah. No, dude, I love the movies. I've only read part of the books. I haven't read.
You haven't? What?
I said I didn't like fucking read. Dude, I didn't like fucking reading when I was a kid.
Well, there's Audible now. Go get Audible. It's great.
Hate that. I don't want that. The reason being is I do when I actually find time and think about it, and I sit down and I read, I actually specifically go sit in the living room so that way my kids can actually see that they have a father who reads. And actually, my kids
pretend to read.
That fucking, hey, either way it gets them reading. I don't give a fuck whether I'm pretending or not. My kids are picking up their own books. They're reading their own stories. They're telling me about them. You know, their mom, they'll write small reports. It's fucking awesome. And like my kids, because I hated it. It was a chore for me, and I'm trying to make it fun for them. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to A Drink with Crazy. I do appreciate all of you being here. And as always, until next time, cheers, everybody.